Warrior Lore. Chapter 1991. Your life and death are no longer up to you. Gu Fei hadn't said a word ever since he had arrived. Tu Qing was startled by his words. Just as he was about to laugh, Tu Qing suddenly realized that Gu Fei's eyes had suddenly lit up. Tu Qing felt an indescribable suction force from Gu Fei's eyes that was tugging at his primordial spirit. This was no small matter. To immortal cultivators, the primordial spirit was their everything. If it was destroyed, then their souls would scatter. This was the most thorough way to die. Although Tu Qing was startled awake, the light in his eyes only brightened for a moment before dimming again. This time, his consciousness quickly sank into darkness, and his body fell from the sky. A ball of divine light wrapped around a miniature version of Tu Qing emerged from his body and floated in the air. This was Tu Qing's primordial spirit. His primordial spirit was lifeless and confused, as if it had lost its sentience. Then, with a bang, the primordial spirit suddenly exploded. At the same time, a jade tablet suddenly shattered in a pavilion in the phoenix nest. What happened? Why did old 13's tablet shatter? An exclamation came from the pavilion. Brother Ju had just descended from the sky and arrived at the entrance of the pavilion. What? Old 13 is dead? How is this possible? Brother Ju was extremely shocked. He had just been talking to Tu Qing, but Tu Qing had already died. Could it be that Gu Fei had already killed his way in? How was this possible? The phoenix nest was protected by a saint-grade formation. Even Gu Fei would find it difficult to break the formation. Unless a true saint came, no one would be able to attack the phoenix nest. Brother Ju rushed into the pavilion and saw that Tu Qing's tablet had indeed shattered. In other words, Tu Qing was as dead as a doornail. Old 13. What's going on? Although the 13 great bandits had been subdued by the Iron Blood Taoist, Tu Qing's death had enraged the other bandits. However, they couldn't say that they were sad. When it came to revenge, it was fine if the opponent was weak, but if the opponent was too strong, who would go? Protecting themselves was the true nature of the 13 great bandits. As long as they could survive, why would they care about the lives of others? However, Tu Qing's death wasn't a small matter. They had to inform Boss Tai Shui. Otherwise, when Boss Tai Shui came out of seclusion and saw Tu Qing's death, he would definitely blame them. The 13 great bandits had never submitted to anyone, but this Iron Blood Taoist had convinced this group of arrogant bandits. They had no choice but to submit. Because they didn't submit, the Iron Blood Taoist beat them until they submitted. The few bandits in the pavilion hurriedly used a secret technique to inform Iron Blood Taoist, who was in seclusion. 13th is dead. A Taoist sat cross-legged in the spirit cave of the Phoenix Pavilion. This Taoist was absorbing the vast amount of spirit energy in the spirit cave and cultivating the supreme mystic technique of immortal bird. The Undying Bird mysterious art was a mysterious art created by the ancient Taoist Undying. Once cultivated to the great success stage, one could become a saint. Of course, the Iron Blood Taoist was still a distance away from becoming a saint. At this moment, a message talisman flew into Iron Blood Taoist's secluded cultivation grounds. How is this possible? Who could have killed 13th? Iron Blood Taoist's pupil shrank. 13th's cultivation had already reached the 5th heavenly layer. There weren't many people who could kill him. Who was this Gu Fei? There was very little information in the message talisman. It only mentioned that a person called Gu Fei had killed 13th, and that person still hadn't left. You killed my men and still haven't escaped. You really have guts. Iron Blood Taoist stopped his cultivation and stood up. This Gu Fei must die. Otherwise, he would be called the boss of the 13 great bandits for nothing. Although he didn't want to come out of seclusion, he had no choice. Just as Iron Blood Taoist came out of seclusion, Gu Fei and his disciple were having a conversation outside the phoenix nest. Master, your godly snatching secret technique is getting more and more superb, Gu Zhong said. Just now, Gu Fei had used the godly snatching secret technique to pull out the primordial spirit of Tu Qing, one of the 13 great bandits. His primordial spirit was destroyed, causing his soul to scatter. Although there was a layer of sky curtain separating them, it wasn't difficult for Gu Fei to kill Tu Qing. Tu Qing's death shocked the core members of the 13 Iron Blood Banners in the Phoenix Nest. They couldn't imagine how Gu Fei could kill Tu Qing under the protection of a saint-level Grand Array. No one in the Phoenix Nest knew how Tu Qing died. Even the other bandits were the same. They couldn't find any damage on Tu Qing's body that could be considered as man-made. This made the bandits look at each other in dismay, inexplicably horrified. If you cultivate diligently, you can also reach my level, Gu Fei said. He had already passed on the 9 secrets of immortal Tao to Gu Zhong. The magical thing about the 9 secrets of immortal Tao was that any cultivator could cultivate it. Roar! At that moment, a furious roar came from the Phoenix Nest. The entire heaven and earth trembled as an extremely powerful aura appeared between heaven and earth. It's time for the main character to appear, Gu Fei said. A figure rushed out from the depths of the Phoenix Nest. His terrifying aura shook the surroundings, causing everyone in the Phoenix Nest to tremble in fear. The aura was so powerful that it intimidated everyone. Who is Gu Fei? Come out and accept your death. The person rushed to the sky and shouted, causing the void to tremble along with his voice. Boss Tai is here. That guy is dead for sure. Some bandits were overjoyed, but others weren't so optimistic about the Ironblood Taoist's chances. One should know that the invader was none other than the Grim Reaper, Gu Fei. The name of Grim Reaper Gu Fei had long spread across the entire southern region of Buzhou ancestral planet. However, the Ironblood Taoist had gone into seclusion some time ago, so he didn't know who Gu Fei was or whether he was flat or round. This is going to be a battle between a dragon and a tiger. Brother Ju said something like that. Even though Gu Fei is strong, Boss Tai Shui isn't someone to be trifled with. A bandit said. At this moment, none of the bandits dared to get too close. One should know that if they were careless and got caught in the crossfire, they would be in deep trouble. So you're the Ironblood Taoist. Gu Fei walked up and looked at the Ironblood Taoist. The Ironblood Taoist was a skinny Taoist wearing a gray Taoist robe. He had a delicate face. However, at this moment, this sage-like Taoist had a murderous look on his face. So you're Gu Fei. You're the one who killed Old 13. The Ironblood Taoist glared at Gu Fei as his murderous aura spread out. The temperature around him dropped rapidly under the impact of his murderous aura. Chapter 1992. The 13th of the 13 Great Bandits, Tu Qing, was killed by Gu Fei, provoking the leader of the 13 Great Bandits, the Ironblood Taoist. Gu Fei and the Ironblood Taoist faced off against each other through a transparent barrier. That Tu Qing didn't know what's good for him. He refused to submit to my master, so he died. Gu Zhong looked at the Ironblood Taoist and spoke calmly. He could feel the Taoist's anger. This person was like an enraged beast and was currently in great danger. And who are you? A puny powerhouse. This isn't a place for you to interrupt. The Ironblood Taoist shouted. The aura of a quasi-sage erupted from his body and pressed towards Gu Zhong, who was outside the sky. He wanted to show Gu Zhong his strength. However, Gu Zhong's expression remained unchanged under the pressure of this quasi-saint. He actually withstood the pressure without batting an eyelid. The Taoist couldn't help being startled that Gu Zhong was able to endure the pressure of a quasi-sage. Was this guy really only at the Almighty Realm? He was a little doubtful. Taoist Ironblood, do you dare to come out and fight? Gu Fei naturally knew that the Taoist was pressuring Gu Zhong, but he didn't stop him. He knew that Gu Zhong could withstand the aura of a quasi-saint. You're going too far. The Taoist was both shocked and furious. These two didn't seem to be simple at all. Just how did his subordinates provoke these two guys? If he were to find out who provoked these two fiends, he would definitely throw that person to feed the beasts. At this moment, the Taoist calmed down. These two dared to come to his doorstep. This meant that they weren't afraid of him at all, especially that Gu Fei. He actually couldn't see through this person's depth. He knew that supreme powers like the Ziyun clan and the immortal palace of the Central Plains had a few self-sealing saints. These existences were the strongest in the human world. Before these existences, quasi-saints were like powerless children. Could it be that this person was one of those supreme antiques? I'll say it again. Surrender or die. It's your choice. Gu Fei said as he looked at the Ironblood Taoist in the sky screen. He could sense that the qi and blood of the iron-blood Taoist seemed to be stronger than that of an ordinary half-sage. The more powerful a cultivator's blood and qi was, the more powerful that cultivator's life force was. Cultivators with a strong life force were less likely to die. Just like Gu Fei, even if his martial body was destroyed, it could still be reconstructed in an instant. This is intolerable. Open the formation. I want to go out and kill these two arrogant fellows. The iron-blood Taoist could not take it anymore. These two fellows were too despicable. They actually wanted to subdue the entire 13 iron-blood flags with just the two of them. Boss, that person is Gu Fei. Ninth brother transmitted his voice to Taoist iron-blood. So what if it's Gu Fei? The iron-blood Taoist said impatiently. This Gu Fei defeated Ziyun Shao not long ago. The ninth of the 13 bandits continued. What? Damn it. The iron-blood Taoist was shocked. He didn't know who Gu Fei was because he had been in seclusion when Gu Fei had appeared in the southern region. However, he couldn't ignore Ziyun Shao. Ziyun Shao was known as the greatest genius of the Ziyun clan in the past 1,000 years. He had already become a half-sage at such a young age. With enough time, Ziyun Shao would most likely become a saint. Although the iron-blood Taoist had never fought Ziyun Shao before, he knew that he might not be able to defeat him if he were to meet him. This person had actually defeated Ziyun Shao. He truly did have the right to be arrogant. So, surrender or die? Gu Fei didn't want to talk nonsense with the iron-blood Taoist. The iron-blood Taoist only had two choices. With his current cultivation, he had to keep his word. As long as the iron-blood Taoist didn't surrender, there was nothing else to say. Humph, if you want me to surrender, then you'll have to show me what you're capable of, the iron-blood Taoist said. An existence like him would only submit to someone stronger than him. The strong would never submit to the weak. Very well. Gu Fei nodded. He knew that it was impossible to convince someone like the iron-blood Taoist to submit to him with just words. In order to truly subdue these people, he had to show a few moves. As for avenging the 13th brother, no one would be so bored as to do that. The iron-blood Taoist was furious because the 13th brother was one of his men. Gu Fei had killed his man and didn't give him any face. That was why the iron-blood Taoist wanted to get even with Gu Fei. Bang! Without any hesitation, Gu Fei threw a punch at the sky screen in front of him. Primal Chaos Tao patterns faintly appeared on his fist. It looked like a casual punch, but in the eyes of the iron-blood Taoist, it was an entirely different matter. Boom! When Gu Fei's fist landed on the sky in front of him, the entire sky shook. Countless runes emerged on the transparent sky, intertwining with the power of the great Tao. Everyone was shocked. Gu Fei's casual punch had actually shaken the saint-level grand formation, protecting the phoenix nest. It was truly unbelievable. The iron-blood Taoist was also shocked by Gu Fei's punch. Although he cultivated the immortal bird mystic art, it didn't mean that he wouldn't die. An expert like Gu Fei might have a way to kill him. The iron-blood Taoist didn't want to take the risk. It was known that it wasn't easy for him to become a demi-saint. After the saint-level grand formation calmed down, the iron-blood Taoist surrendered. He had no choice but to surrender. His opponent's fist was harder than his own. In the world of cultivation, whoever had the harder fist was the boss. It was that simple. The iron-blood Taoist personally opened the saint-level grand formation and welcomed Gu Fei and his disciple into the phoenix nest. The 13 bandits had now become the 12 bandits. No one dared to take revenge for the dead 13th Tu Ching. This was simply courting death. Tu Ching's death didn't matter. The others still had to live, and they had to live well. As the upper echelons of the 13 Iron Blood Banners submitted to Gu Fei, the forces of the 13 Iron Blood Banners also surrendered. Without much effort, Gu Fei and his disciple had taken down the 13 Iron Blood Banners. Gu Fei and Gu Zhong were, after all, passers-by on the ancestral Buzhou star. In the end, they would have to leave. There weren't many among the 13 banners who truly submitted to them. They knew this very well, so they didn't care about it. The first order Gu Fei gave after taking down the 13 banners was to find a way to the ancestral dragon star. The Iron Blood Taoist and the other higher-ups were dumbfounded. Where was the ancestral dragon star? Could it be another source of life outside of the ancestral Bujo star? They had never heard of such a source of life. Chapter 1993. 13 Iron Blood Banners? Gu Zhong was startled by the man's words. He had stayed in the southern region of planet Bujo for 3 years, so he naturally knew the distribution of the factions there. The 13 Iron Blood Banners was a bandit group that occupied the area between the southern region and the center continent. The leader of this bandit group was someone called the Iron Blood Taoist. The Iron Blood Taoist was quite a character. The 13 Iron Blood Banners had only existed for less than 1,000 years. The Iron Blood Taoist had integrated the 13 bandit groups in the southern region into one, and that was how the 13 Iron Blood Banners came to be. 1,000 years ago, the Iron Blood Taoist appeared out of nowhere and subdued the 13 bandits all by himself. The 13 bandits were no ordinary figures. Each of them was a powerful existence that could dominate the southern region. They were a huge headache for the Ziyun clan. The Ziyun clan had once sent out experts to eradicate the 13 great bandits, but even now, the 13 great bandits were still alive and well. After the Iron Blood Taoist subdued the 13 bandits all by himself, the bandits in the southern region of Bujo grew even stronger. Many cultivators traveling between the southern region and the center continent were robbed by the 13 Iron Blood Banners. Some beautiful female cultivators were even taken to the mountains of the 13 Iron Blood Banners and became their wives. In recent years, the bandits had become even more arrogant. They even dared to attack cultivators from major factions, resulting in many cultivators being robbed. "Everything can be discussed as long as you let me go," said the man. His clothes were drenched in sweat. Although he was an immortal, he was as weak as a newborn baby before this person. He couldn't even muster any thoughts of resistance. The reason why these people became bandits was to survive. Thus, when the man realized that he wasn't Gu Zhong's match, the first thing he thought of was how to save his own life. The resources in the cultivation world were all in the hands of major factions. Some independent cultivators had nowhere else to go, so they could only become bandits that robbed other cultivators. "So what if I don't let you go? I'm not afraid of the 13 Iron Blood Banners." Gu Zhong didn't withdraw his right hand from the burly man's shoulder. Instead, he increased his strength, causing the burly man to immediately fall to the ground, unable to straighten his back. "Senior, please spare our lives. We were forced to do this." The burly man panicked. This person didn't even give face to the Iron Blood Taoist of the 13 Iron Blood Flags. Could it be that he was an expert who could challenge the Iron Blood Taoist? If he provoked such a person, then he would really be out of luck. "You actually dare to be on the streets outside the immortal Venerable city? Aren't you afraid that the experts inside the immortal Venerable city will come out and kill you?" At this moment, Gu Fei walked over. The Celestial Emperor city can't even take care of itself now. How would they have time to care about us? The burly man quickly said. He wanted to show that he still had some value in front of these two people. In this way, he would have a higher chance of not being killed. "You're not stupid. How could Gu Zhong not know what this fellow was thinking? It didn't matter if he killed such a person or not. An immortal-level existence really made him a little embarrassed to make a move. He withdrew his right hand from the burly man's shoulder. "Thank you for your praise, Senior. In the world of cultivation, we have to be careful." The burly man heaved a sigh of relief and stood up. At this moment, the burly man's dozen lackeys were still lying on the ground, groaning in pain. Their cultivation levels weren't high, so their fall wasn't light. No one cared about their life or death, not even the muscular man. He didn't even look at his lackeys. This was the cruel world of cultivation. Only those with powerful cultivation and strength would be valued by others. "What's your name?" Gu Fei looked at the burly man with interest. This fellow was really interesting. "I'm in Wushang." The burly man answered carefully. "In Wushang?" Gu Fei couldn't help but laugh. This fellow's name was the same as his person. It was also very interesting. It seemed that this person really knew how to protect himself. "Seniors, if there's anything that you can't do, you can leave it to me. I definitely won't disappoint you." "You? What can you do for us?" How laughable. Gu Zhong couldn't help laughing again. This fellow was just an insignificant immortal, and his abilities were very limited. In this grand world, even immortals would find it hard to protect themselves. However, An Wushang's words were very serious. Even if he was an ant, as long as he displayed his value, people would be interested. This was one of the experiences An Wushang had accumulated as an independent cultivator step by step to become an immortal. These experiences were incomparably precious and had allowed him to live until now. Yes, take us to the 13 iron blood flags. Gu Fei thought for a while before saying this. What? When An Wushang heard this, he was immediately taken aback. All sorts of thoughts quickly spun through his mind because of Gu Fei's words. He was thinking quickly, trying to guess what Gu Fei was going to do next. But he was disappointed. He wasn't Gu Fei, so how could he know what Gu Fei was thinking? Observing people's expressions was also a skill to survive in the cultivation world. An Wushang had already cultivated this skill to an extremely proficient level. But at this moment, he couldn't get any useful information from Gu Fei's expression because Gu Fei's face was completely expressionless. No one could tell what he was feeling right now. Master, what are you doing? Even Gu Zhong didn't know why his master would do such a thing. The bandits of the 13 iron blood flags weren't easy to deal with, especially that iron blood Taoist. Rumor had it that he had successfully broken through the shackles of cultivation and became a sage-to-be. This was also the reason why the people of the Ziyun clan and the immortal revered city were wary of the Taoist. The Ziyun clan and the immortal revered city were indeed powerful, much more powerful than the 13 iron blood banners. However, if a demi-saint went berserk, it would still be terrifying. Destroying the 13 iron blood flags required a huge price. Thus, both the Ziyun clan and the immortal palace of the Center Plains were unwilling to lose manpower at this time. As long as the Taoists didn't go too far, the people of the Ziyun clan and the immortal palace of the Center Plains would endure it. This was the reason why the 13 iron blood flags could survive in the cracks between the Ziyun clan and the immortal palace of the Center Plains. As long as the 13 iron blood flags didn't cross the bottom line of these two supreme powers, they wouldn't touch them. Don't you think that the two of us are too weak? Chapter 1994. Gu Fei and Gu Zhong were both powerful individuals, but there were only two of them. No matter how powerful they were individually, there were many things that were difficult to accomplish. However, as an expert, there was no need for them to do everything personally. As long as they gave the order, there would naturally be countless people who would work for them. This was the benefit of having one's own faction. An Wushang's words reminded Gu Fei that if he had his own faction on planet Buzhou Ancestral Star, it would definitely be much more convenient for him to get things done. He didn't want to borrow the power of other super factions, because there would be many conflicts of interest, and those super factions weren't good people either. Since he didn't want to borrow the power of other factions on planet Buzhou Ancestral Star to do things for him, there was only one way, and that was to establish his own faction. However, establishing his own faction in a short period of time didn't seem to be an easy task. However, the existence of the Iron Blood 13 banners saved Gu Fei a lot of time and effort. As long as he could control this faction, it would be enough. At night, Gu Fei and Gu Zhong were led by An Wushang to a stronghold of the Iron Blood 13 banners in the mountains 1,000 miles away from Immortal Venerate City. This stronghold was a new stronghold of the Iron Blood 13 banners. Because the Iron Blood 13 banners had recruited many wandering cultivators in recent years, their faction had expanded very quickly. Because of the arrival of the Great Era, experts had appeared from all over the world, and the wandering cultivators on planet Buzhou Ancestral Star were having an even harder time. In this Great Era, the most worthless people were rogue cultivators. If they encountered those people who came out from the big forces to gain experience, they would very likely lose their lives. For wandering cultivators like An Wushang, if they wanted to survive, they would have to join a powerful faction. However, for rogue cultivators, there weren't many powers that they could truly join. Those big sects wouldn't accept them because of the issue of loyalty. The disciples of large sects all entered the sect from a young age, and then they would cultivate and grow in the sect. It was the sect that nurtured them. The loyalty of such disciples was definitely much higher than those wandering cultivators who came to join a sect. A rogue cultivator would not have enough loyalty to the sect. Loyalty was something that needed time to be nurtured. However, a bandit force like the 13 Iron Blood Banners had a much lower requirement for loyalty. After all, they were bandits to begin with. With the advent of the Great Era, factions like the Iron Blood 13 Banners had a chance to develop rapidly. The Iron Blood 13 Banners had developed quite well. Is it in bold? Just as An Wushang brought Gu Fei and his master closer to the stronghold, a loud shout came from a tall tower. Under the illumination of the torches, they could see a person looking out from the stone tower. "Old Brother Cheng, it's me, An Wushang." An Wushang hastily replied. He knew that if he hesitated in the slightest, Cheng Datu would mercilessly attack him. Cheng Datu was famous for not recognizing his own family. "And bold, what's going on? 13 people went out with you. Why did you bring back only 3? Did you run into a vicious character?" Cheng Datu lowered the barrier at the front of the stronghold, letting An Wushang in. This stronghold was located in a mountain valley. The entire mountain valley had been turned into a stronghold by the Iron Blood 13 Banners. There were fluctuations of a formation in the air above the stronghold. To enter the stronghold, one had to go through the stronghold's main gate. Today, the one guarding the gate was Big-Headed Cheng. Big-Headed Cheng's head was a bit larger than the average person's head. Adding on the fact that he was a bit shorter and smaller than other people, his head was very conspicuous. As a result, An Wushang and the others had given him a nickname, Big-Headed. Although Cheng Datu's head was large and his body was small, he was still an immortal. His strength was even slightly greater than An Wushang's. Just this slight difference caused Cheng Datu's treatment within the stronghold to be much better than An Wushang's. That was because Cheng Datu didn't need to go out and rob people. It had to be known that being a bandit was a very dangerous occupation. You might run into someone stronger than you at any time, and you might lose your life at any time. And bold, you really are a lucky bastard. You actually managed to come back alive. Upon seeing An Wushang walk in, a few people who recognized him greeted him. Those two, but just at this moment, someone realized that the 2 people behind An Wushang weren't one of his lackeys. Whoosh! In just an instant, at least 5 people had surrounded An Wushang and Gu Fei. "How dare you? You must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall to dare to bring an outsider in?" At this moment, a loud shout rang out from the tower. Following that, a small figure jumped down from the tower. A short person with an especially conspicuous head appeared in front of An Wushang. "Cheng Datu, I also had no choice. These 2 seniors wanted to pay you a visit, and I didn't want to refuse. What do you think?" An Wushang stepped aside. "Who are you?" Cheng Datu's heart couldn't help trembling. Someone had actually taken the initiative to attack their stronghold. This was a very rare thing. Ever since the stronghold had been built, such a thing had never happened. The others were incomparably nervous. It had to be known that only fierce dragons dared to cross the river. The fact that they had dared to come here was enough to prove that these 2 were very confident, so confident that they could easily exterminate everyone in the stronghold. "Call out the people in charge of this place." Gu Zhong took a step forward and expressionlessly swept his gaze over these people. These people were all immortals, but they had been reduced to bandits. Were immortals really that worthless now? Had they all become bandits? These people were all newly joined vagrant cultivators. They were very smart. Although they were on guard, they didn't take the initiative to attack. "Just you wait." Cheng Datu was just about to go report. "Which honored guest has graced us with your presence? Forgive me for not going out to meet you." Just at this moment, a voice rang out from the depths of the stronghold. A person walked out. This person only stopped when he was 10 meters away from Gu Fei's group. He then began to carefully examine Gu Fei and his disciple. Chapter 1995. I am the person in charge of this place. May I know why the 2 of you have come? If my men have offended the 2 of you, I will apologize on their behalf, the middle-aged man said politely. The middle-aged man was secretly shocked. He was secretly shocked that he couldn't see through the depths of these 2 people. Could it be that these 2 people were actually almighty? This time, he had really kicked an iron plate. This middle-aged man was the manager of this place, and his name was Bai Shtong. He wasn't some kind-hearted person. He had once annihilated 9 small sects in a single night. These 9 small sects refused to submit to the 13 iron blood flags, so he single-handedly annihilated them, leaving not a single chicken or dog alive. Even Qing Daidu, and Wushang, and the others would have to be careful in front of such a ruthless person, afraid that they would make a mistake. When he had seen Gu Fei and Gu Zhong, if Gu Fei and his disciples' cultivation had been below Bai Xiong wouldn't have wasted time talking to them. He would have killed them directly. However, he didn't dare to do so now. You really know how to conduct yourself. When you came out just now, I seemed to sense killing intent from your body. Gu Zhong sneered as he looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. This middle-aged man had clearly wanted to kill them when he had come out. However, when this fellow could not see through Yangming's actual strength, he completely withdrew his murderous aura. However, Gu Fei and his disciple weren't ordinary people. Most of their cultivation had come from fighting. The two of them had experienced countless battles of life and death, so their sensitivity to killing intent could be said to have reached the point of perfection. As long as someone had killing intent towards them, they would be able to sense it immediately. This fellow Taoist seems to have misunderstood. Why would Bai Xiong have such thoughts towards the two of you? The middle-aged man hurriedly said. His forehead was already covered in a thin layer of sweat. Although he looked calm on the surface, he was extremely shocked inside. Forget it. I can't be bothered to waste my breath with you. I will only say this once. Where is the headquarters of the 13 iron blood flags? If you know, tell me. If you don't, I will kill you. Gu Zhong didn't have the patience to waste his breath on these people. What? Bai Xiong was shocked. These two people were actually looking for the headquarters of the 13 iron blood banners? Did I hear wrongly? Where did these two people come from? Could it be a peerless expert from the Ziyun clan? Or a demi-saint from the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion? Everyone was stupefied, especially Qing Tu and the others. What kind of person did Audacious and bring back? He actually dared to directly attack the headquarters of the 13 iron blood flags. Qing Tu and the others couldn't help looking at Wushang. Wushang helplessly shrugged his shoulders. He also wanted to know their origins, but even if he had 10 times the guts, he wouldn't dare ask. This was one of the keys to survival as a rogue cultivator. Don't ask about things you shouldn't know. Don't look at things you shouldn't see. If they spoke, they could live. If they didn't, the two of them would start a slaughter. That made everyone nervous, including Wushang. In this stronghold, Bai Xiong was probably the only one who knew where the headquarters of the 13 iron blood flags was. The others had never been to the headquarters of the 13 iron blood flags. This was also a matter of loyalty. Only the core members of the 13 iron blood flags knew where the headquarters of the 13 iron blood flags was. At this time, the stronghold was incomparably silent. Even the breathing of Qing Tu and the others could be heard. They were all looking at Bai Xiong. They didn't want to die. It had to be known that the reason why Qing Tu and the other rogue cultivators had joined the 13 iron blood flags was to survive. If the 13 iron blood flags couldn't guarantee their safety, then why would they join them and listen to their orders? Oh. Seeing Bai Xiong hesitate, Gu Zhong couldn't help feeling a bit irritated. These bandits all had a baleful aura and weren't good people. Killing them would be as easy as lifting a finger, so he didn't mind sending them on their way. As if sensing Gu Zhong's killing intent, Bai Xiong's expression immediately changed. He also didn't want to die, but if he revealed the location of the 13 iron blood flags headquarters to these two, then the bandits definitely wouldn't let him off. He would definitely die without a grave. But if he didn't speak, then he would die immediately. Fellow Taoists, I'll speak, I'll speak. Bai Xiong's voice was trembling. If he didn't speak, then he would die immediately. Bai Xiong's loyalty to the 13 iron blood flags was not as important as his own life. Very good. Gu Zhong smiled. Dealing with these loose cultivators was truly simple and direct. Unlike those disciples from the great sections, it was truly difficult to get any information from the disciples of the great powers. The majority of rogue cultivators viewed their own lives as more important than anything else. That was because survival was their #1 priority. Gu Fei and his disciple quickly left the 13 iron blood flags stronghold. They brought Bai Xiong with them, but they didn't bring in Wushang. The loyalty of rogue cultivators was a problem. These rogue cultivators could betray them at any time. Leaving in Wushang in that stronghold meant that Cheng Datu and the others wouldn't dare do anything to him. In their eyes, An Wushang had gotten lucky this time. Those two seniors had taken a liking to him. Without any suspense, after Bai Xiong left, An Wushang became the boss of the 13 Iron Blood Flags stronghold. His cultivation level was not the highest in the stronghold, but his brain was the best among all the itinerant cultivators in the stronghold. Otherwise, he would not have survived. The 13 Iron Blood Flag stronghold was the Phoenix Nest. The Phoenix Nest was where the Ironblood Taoist had made his fortune. It was here that he had obtained some sort of inheritance and cultivated his skills. The Phoenix Nest was actually a mountain valley surrounded by mountains. Beneath the valley was a spiritual cave that emitted spiritual qi day and night. It was also for this reason that the spiritual qi within the valley was much denser than outside. This place wasn't originally called the Phoenix Nest. It was only after the Ironblood Taoist had risen to power that it was called the Phoenix Nest. That was because the Ironblood Taoist had obtained the immortal bird mysterious art here. This was a mysterious art created by the ancient undying Taoist. When this mysterious art was cultivated to the greater mastery level, one could transform into an immortal bird. The Phoenix Nest location was very hidden. The Ironblood Taoist had laid down a grand formation to hide it. The Violet Cloud Clan and the Central Plains Immortal Palace had both tried to find the 13 Iron Blood Flag stronghold, but they hadn't found it in the end. Chapter 1996. Those guys from the 13 Iron Blood Banners really know how to pick a place. Early in the morning, Bai Xiong led Gu Fei and the others to a mountain near the 13 Iron Blood Banners base camp, the Phoenix Nest. Gu Fei discovered that there was actually a dragon vein under the mountain. This area was located at the border between the Central Province and the Southern Province. It was a lawless area, and spirit veins rarely appeared in such a place. One must know that any place with a spiritual vein would be occupied by a powerful faction. Of course, the 13 Iron Blood Flags could be considered a powerful faction at the border between the Central region and the Southern region. Master, is there anything special about this place? Gu Zhong was not like Gu Fei. Gu Zhong only had a smattering of knowledge about formations. He had spent all his energy on martial cultivation, so he did not know how to search for dragons, observe qi, and strike the acupuncture point. The dragon seeking here was not to search for a true dragon divine beast, but to search for the Earth's dragon vein. As for qi observation, it was because wherever there was a dragon vein, the heaven and earth spiritual energy above the dragon vein would be different. The so-called acupuncture point was to find the place where the Earth's dragon vein essence converged after finding the dragon vein. The place where the Earth's dragon essence converged was the spirit cave. If we follow the direction of this dragon vein, we will be able to find the Phoenix Nest. Gu Fei said, the 13 Iron Blood Banners base camp, the Phoenix Nest, must be built at the place where the Earth's dragon vein essence converged. This was inevitable. If one was not proficient in formations, it would be very difficult to find the Phoenix Nest. This was because formations and the terrain were inseparable. Some formation masters could use the terrain to set up terrifying killing formations to kill enemies stronger than themselves. Where did the formation's power come from? The Earth's dragon vein essence could provide an endless source of power for the formation. Seniors, since you can find the Phoenix Nest by yourself, please let me go. At this time, Bai Xiong could no longer call Gu Fei and Gu Zhou fellow Taoist. In front of these two, he was like a newborn baby, without any thoughts of resistance. This was because these two people were too powerful. To be able to become the manager of a stronghold of the 13 Iron Blood Flags, this Bai Xiong had to be an immortal king. Only with this kind of cultivation could he suppress those loose immortals. After all, those loose immortals were arrogant and unruly, and it was very difficult to restrain them. They would absolutely not obey those with lower cultivation than them. Unless this person had a powerful backer. Bai Xiong didn't have any backing. He was just one of the many core disciples of the 13 Iron Blood Banners, so he was rather loyal to them. Only such a person would know where the Phoenix Nest was. You want to leave? Whatever. At this time, Bai Xiong no longer had any value to Gu Fei and the others. It didn't matter if they killed him or not, because they wanted to subdue the 13 Iron Blood Flags, not kill him. Although it would be difficult to subdue the 13 iron blood flags, it wasn't impossible. From what Bai Xiong had told them, the leader of the 13 iron blood flags, the Iron Blood Taoist, was only a quasi-sage. Gu Fei was a great perfection quasi-sage, and the Iron Blood Taoist wouldn't be a match for him. Many thanks to the two seniors for not killing me. Bai Xiong was instantly overjoyed. He hurriedly bowed to Gu Fei and the others, then turned and fled. The joy of escaping from death made him temporarily forget everything. Let's go. It's time for us to meet the 13 iron blood flags, Gu Fei said as he directly soared into the sky. A powerful aura erupted from his body. He no longer hid his strength. Gu Zhong also flew into the sky. Enemy attack. While Gu Fei's corpse was no longer restraining its aura, someone sensed the aura being released from their bodies 100 miles away. Appearing near the phoenix nest, if it wasn't an enemy, then what could it be? The grand formation that enveloped the entire phoenix nest was activated. Beams of divine light soared into the sky, interweaving to form a gigantic transparent canopy that completely enveloped the phoenix nest. A sage aura permeated the air. Saint-class formation? At this moment, Gu Fei and his disciple arrived in the sky above the phoenix nest. Divine light flickered below as countless Tao runes appeared. An incomparably powerful force was rapidly condensing. They were not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, they stood in the sky and quietly watched the scene unfold. One had to admit that the phoenix nest's defense was quite good. A sage formation could block all experts below the sage realm. Unfortunately, the ones who came this time were Gu Fei and his disciple. To Gu Fei, a sage formation wasn't unbreakable. It would just take him a little more time. After all, he had even broken through an extreme divine formation before. Who goes there? A loud shout came from the phoenix nest. Then, a dark red silhouette rushed out of the phoenix nest and into the sky. It was a young man with an incomparably dense murderous aura. From his aura, one could tell that this young man was definitely a battle-hungry person. Are you Tu Qing, one of the 13 great bandits? Gu Zhong took a step forward and looked down at the young man behind the transparent screen. Who are you? Could it be that the people from the Ziyun clan want to attack the 13 iron blood flags? The young man named Tu Qing shouted. Tu Qing was extremely shocked. Since the establishment of the 13 iron blood flags, no one had been able to find the headquarters of the 13 iron blood flags, and no one had dared to attack. But today, early in the morning, someone had come to kill them. The Ziyun clan? What is the Ziyun clan? Ziyun Xiao was defeated by my master. Gu Zhong said. What? Tu Qing was shocked when he heard this. Who were these two fellows? How could they be so arrogant? Even the most outstanding disciple of the Ziyun clan, Ziyun Xiao, was no match for these people. Very quickly, Tu Qing thought of a person, and his expression immediately became very unsightly. Your master, could it be Gu Fei? Tu Qing glanced at the people behind Gu Zhong and asked carefully. That's right, this is my master, Gu Fei. Today, we are here to ask for your surrender. Gu Zhong said indifferently. You, ha. Suddenly, Tu Qing pointed at Gu Zhong and laughed to the point of tears. Is it really that funny? You're going to cry soon. Gu Zhong's face was still calm. There was no expression on his face. At this moment, he wouldn't reveal any emotional fluctuations. You guys are too funny. Ha. Tu Qing was still laughing. He couldn't help it. Gu Zhong's words were truly laughable to him. Two people could subdue the entire 13 iron blood banners? This was one of the funniest jokes he had ever heard. Gu Fei's name had already spread throughout the entire southern region. Even in other regions of planet Buzhou, many people knew of Gu Fei's existence. However, no matter how strong Gu Fei was, he was not as strong as a saint. Although they had found the headquarters of the 13 iron blood flags, the phoenix nest was protected by a saint-level formation. Tu Qing did not believe that Gu Fei and the others could break the formation and enter the phoenix nest. At this time, from the valley shrouded by the transparent sky curtain, people continuously rushed out. These people were the core members of the 13 iron blood flags. Tu Qing, what's going on? A tall man wearing the same dark red armor rushed out. The killing intent on his body was much stronger than Tu Ching's. This man was simply a murderous demon king. Otherwise, how could his body condense such a strong killing intent? The killing intent on this middle-aged man was so strong that it was almost visible to the naked eye. Haha, Brother Jiu, this is too funny. These two idiots actually want to subdue the entire 13 iron blood flags with just the two of them. Tu Ching said with a smile. What? Ha 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 ha. The man called Brother Jiu also laughed loudly. You two are really brave. You actually want to subdue us with just the two of you? You're really stupid. Brother Jiu had a boorish appearance and his voice was like a great bell. Even though there was a layer of sky curtain between them, his voice still spread far and wide. Gu Fei and Gu Zhong did not say anything, allowing them to laugh. After they had laughed enough, Gu Zhong said, Surrender or die. It's up to you. Let us know when you've made your decision. Gu Zhong's face remained expressionless even after he said this. Tu Ching and Brother Jiu could not see anything from his expression. Where did you guys come from? How do you talk so big? Did you eat too much garlic? Brother Jiu also laughed until tears came out of his eyes. From their point of view, this was indeed very funny. Even if it was the Ziyun clan or the Central State Immortal Mansion, no one would dare to say such a thing. The person behind this idiot is Gu Fei, who is currently in the limelight. Tu Ching said. What? Brother Jiu was shocked. The 13 iron blood flags were still very well informed. It was impossible for them not to know that Gu Fei had defeated Ziyun Xiao. As the saying goes, the shadow of a tree is the shadow of a person. Since Gu Fei could defeat a disciple of a sovereign clan like Ziyun Xiao, he must have some ability. Why aren't you informing Boss Tai? Brother Jiu shouted at Tu Ching. Only the Iron-Blood Taoist could deal with these two. If they were to go out, they wouldn't even know how they died. Fortunately, they had activated the formation. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable if that maleficent being allowed in. Is there a need to alert Boss Tai? Boss Tai is in seclusion right now. Tu Ching hesitated. One should know that the Iron-Blood Taoist hated being disturbed during his cultivation. Tu Ching did not want to make Boss Tai unhappy. You, Brother Jiu glared at Tu Ching, then turned around and flew towards the valley below. Have you made your choice? Surrender or die. Gu Zhong suddenly said to Tu Ching, Are you stupid? Of course I don't want to die, but I don't want to surrender either. What can you do to me? As one of the 13 great bandits, Tu Ching still had some pride. Your life or death is not up to you. Chapter 1997. Your life and death are no longer up to you. Gu Fei hadn't said a word ever since he had arrived, so his words stunned Tu Ching. Just as he was about to laugh, Tu Ching suddenly realized that Gu Fei's eyes had suddenly lit up. Tu Ching felt an indescribable suction force from Gu Fei's eyes that was tugging at his primordial spirit. This was no small matter. For immortal cultivators, the primordial spirit was their everything. If it was destroyed, then their souls would scatter. This was the most thorough way to die. Although Tu Ching was startled awake, the divine light in his eyes only brightened for a moment before dimming once again. This time, his consciousness quickly sank into darkness and his body fell from the sky. A ball of divine light wrapped around a miniature version of Tu Ching emerged from his body and floated in the void. This was Tu Ching's primordial spirit. His primordial spirit was lifeless and confused, as if it had lost its consciousness. Then, with a bang, the primordial spirit suddenly exploded. At the same time, a jade tablet in a pavilion in the phoenix nest suddenly shattered. What happened? Why did old 13th's life tablet shatter? An exclamation came from the pavilion. Brother Jiu had just descended from the sky and arrived at the entrance of the pavilion. What? Old 13 is dead? How is this possible? Brother Jiu was extremely shocked. He had just been talking to Tu Ching, yet Tu Ching had died. Could Gu Fei have already killed his way in? Was this even possible? The phoenix nest was protected by a Saint-grade array formation. Even Gu Fei would find it difficult to break the array and enter. Unless a true saint came, no one would be able to attack the phoenix nest. Brother Jiu rushed into the pavilion and took a look. Indeed, Tu Ching's life tablet had shattered. In other words, Tu Ching was as dead as a doornail. Old 13. What's going on? Although the 13 great bandits had already been subdued by the Iron Blood Taoist, Tu Ching's death had enraged the other bandits. Revenge? If the opponent was weak, it would be fine. But if the opponent was too strong, who would go? Preserving oneself was the true nature of the 13 great bandits. As long as they could live, why would they care about the life and death of others? However, Tu Ching's death wasn't a small matter. They had to inform their boss. Otherwise, when he came out of seclusion and saw Tu Ching's death, he would definitely blame them. The 13 great bandits had never submitted to anyone, but this Iron Blood Taoist had convinced this group of arrogant bandits. They had no choice but to submit. Because they didn't submit, the Iron Blood Taoist beat them until they submitted. The few bandits in the pavilion hurriedly used a secret technique to inform Iron Blood Taoist, who was in seclusion. 13th is dead? A Taoist sat cross-legged in the spirit cave of the Phoenix Pavilion. This Taoist was absorbing the vast amount of spirit energy in the spirit cave and cultivating the supreme mystic technique of a mortal bird. The Undying Bird Mysterious Art was a mysterious art created by the ancient Taoist Undying. Once cultivated to the great success stage, one could become a saint. Of course, this Iron Blood Taoist was still a distance away from becoming a saint. At this time, a message talisman flew into Iron Blood Taoist's secluded cultivation area. How is this possible? Who could kill 13th? Iron Blood Taoist's pupil shrank. 13th's cultivation had already reached the 5th heavenly layer. There weren't many people who could kill him. Who was this Gu Fei? There was very little information in the message talisman. It only mentioned that a person called Gu Fei had killed 13th, but that person still hadn't left. He killed my people and still hasn't escaped. How audacious of him. Iron Blood Taoist stopped cultivating and stood up. This Gu Fei must die. Otherwise, he would be called the boss of the 13 great bandits for nothing. Although he didn't want to come out of seclusion, he had no choice but to do so. Just as Iron Blood Taoist came out of seclusion, Gu Fei and his disciple were talking outside the phoenix nest. Master, your godly stealing secret technique is getting more and more superb, Gu Zhong said. Just now, Gu Fei used the godly stealing secret technique to pull out the primordial spirit of Tu Ching, one of the 13 great bandits. His primordial spirit was destroyed and Tu Ching's soul scattered. Although they were separated by a layer of sky curtain, it wasn't difficult for Gu Fei to kill Tu Ching. Tu Ching's death shocked the core members of the 13 Iron Blood Flags in the Phoenix Nest to the extreme. It was hard to imagine how Gu Fei killed Tu Ching under the protection of a saint-level grand formation. No one in the Phoenix Nest knew how Tu Ching died. Even the other bandits were the same. They couldn't find any damage on Tu Ching's body. This made the bandits look at each other in inexplicable horror. If you cultivate diligently, you can also reach my level, Gu Fei said. He had already passed on the 9 secrets of a mortal path to Gu Zhong. The magic of the 9 secrets of a mortal path was that any cultivator could cultivate it. Roar. At this moment, a furious roar came from the phoenix nest. The entire world shook as an extremely powerful aura burst forth. An extremely powerful aura appeared between heaven and earth. The main character has made his appearance, Gu Fei said. A figure rushed out from the depths of the phoenix nest. A terrifying aura shook the surroundings, causing everyone in the phoenix nest to tremble in fear. The aura was so powerful that it deterred everyone. Who is Gu Fei? Come out and accept your death. The person rushed to the sky and shouted. The entire void trembled along with his voice. That person is dead for sure now that Boss Tai is here. Some bandits were surprised and overjoyed, but others weren't so optimistic about the Iron Blood Taoist chances. One should know that the invader was none other than the god of death, Gu Fei. The name of the god of death, Gu Fei, had long spread across the entire southern region of the ancestral star. However, the Iron Blood Taoist had already gone into seclusion some time ago, so he didn't know who Gu Fei was. This is going to be a battle between a dragon and a tiger. Brother Ju said something like that. Gu Fei might be strong, but Boss Tai isn't one to be trifled with. A bandit said. None of the bandits dared to get too close. One should know that they would be in deep trouble if they were caught in the crossfire. You're the Iron Blood Taoist? Gu Fei walked up and looked at the Iron Blood Taoist. The Iron Blood Taoist was a skinny Taoist. He wore a gray Taoist robe and had a delicate face. However, at this moment, this sage-like Taoist had a murderous look on his face. "You're Gu Fei? You're the one who killed 13th? The Iron Blood Taoist stared at Gu Fei as a murderous aura spread from his body. The temperature around him dropped rapidly under the impact of the murderous aura. Chapter 1998. The 13th of the 13 Great Bandits, Tu Qing, was killed by Gu Fei, provoking the leader of the 13 Great Bandits, the Ironblood Taoist. Gu Fei and the Ironblood Taoist faced off against each other, separated by a transparent barrier. That Tu Qing didn't know what's good for him. He refused to submit to my master, so he died. Gu Zhong looked at the Ironblood Taoist and spoke calmly. He could feel the Taoist's anger. This person was like an enraged beast and was currently in great danger. "And who are you? A puny powerhouse. This isn't a place for you to interrupt." The Ironblood Taoist shouted. The aura of a quasi-sage erupted from his body and pressed towards Gu Zhong, who was outside the sky. He wanted to show Gu Zhong his strength. However, Gu Zhong's expression remained unchanged under the pressure of this quasi-saint. He actually withstood it without batting an eyelid. The Ironblood Taoist was shocked to see that Gu Zhong could actually withstand the pressure of a quasi-saint. Was this guy really only at the realm of great experts? He was a little doubtful. "Ironblood Taoist, do you dare to come out and fight?" Gu Fei naturally knew that the Ironblood Taoist was pressuring Gu Zhong, but he didn't stop him. He knew that Gu Zhong could withstand the aura of a quasi-saint. "You're going too far." The Ironblood Taoist was both shocked and furious. These two didn't seem to be simple at all. Just how did his subordinates provoke these two? If he were to find out who provoked these two fiends, he would definitely throw that person to feed the beasts. At this moment, the Ironblood Taoist calmed down. Since these two dared to come to his door, it meant that they weren't afraid of him at all. Especially that Gu Fei. He actually couldn't see through this person's depth. He knew that supreme powers like the Ziyun clan and the Middle Ground Immortal Palace had a few self-sealing saints. These existences were the strongest in the human world. Before these existences, quasi-saints were like powerless children. Could it be that this person was one of those supreme antiques? I'll say it again. Surrender or die. It's your choice. Gu Fei said as he looked at the Ironblood Taoist in the sky screen. He could sense that the qi and blood of the Ironblood Taoist seemed to be stronger than that of an ordinary half-sage. The more powerful a cultivator's blood and qi was, the more powerful that cultivator's life force was. Cultivators with a strong life force were less likely to die. Take Gu Fei for example. Even if his martial body was destroyed, it could still be reconstructed in an instant. This is intolerable. Open the formation. I want to go out and kill these two arrogant fellows. The Ironblood Taoist could not take it anymore. These two fellows were too despicable. They actually wanted to subdue the entire 13 Ironblood flags with just the two of them. "Boss, that person is Gu Fei." Ninth brother transmitted his voice to Ironblood Taoist. "So what if it's Gu Fei?" Ironblood Taoist said impatiently. "This Gu Fei defeated Ziyun Shao not long ago." The ninth of the 13 bandits continued. "What? Damn it." The Ironblood Taoist couldn't help but be shocked. He didn't know who Gu Fei was because he was in seclusion when Gu Fei rose to prominence in the southern region. However, he couldn't ignore Ziyun Shao. Ziyun Shao was known as the supreme genius of the Ziyun clan in the past 1,000 years. He had already become a half-sage at such a young age. With enough time, Ziyun Shao would most likely become a saint. Although the Ironblood Taoist had never fought Ziyun Shao before, he knew that he might not be able to defeat him if he were to meet him. This person had actually defeated Ziyun Shao. He truly had the right to be arrogant. So, surrender or die. Gu Fei didn't want to waste time with the Ironblood Taoist. He only had two choices. With his current cultivation, he had to keep his word. As long as the Ironblood Taoist didn't surrender, then there was nothing else to say. If you want me to surrender, then you'll have to show me what you're capable of," the Ironblood Taoist said. An existence like him would only submit to someone stronger than him. The strong would never submit to the weak. Very well. Gu Fei nodded. He knew that it was impossible to convince someone like the Iron Blood Taoist to submit to him with just words. In order to truly subdue these people, he had to show a few moves. As for avenging the 13th brother, no one would be so bored as to do that. The Iron Blood Taoist was furious because the 13th brother was one of his men. Gu Fei killed his man and didn't give him any face. Thus, the Iron Blood Taoist wanted to get even with Gu Fei. Bang! Without any hesitation, Gu Fei threw a punch at the sky screen in front of him. Primal Chaos Tao patterns faintly appeared on his fist. It looked like a casual punch, but in the eyes of the Iron Blood Taoist, it was an entirely different matter. Boom! When Gu Fei's fist hit the sky in front of him, the entire sky shook. Countless runes emerged on the transparent sky, intertwining with the power of the Great Tao. Everyone was shocked. Gu Fei's casual punch had actually shaken the Saint-level Grand Formation, protecting the Phoenix Nest. It was truly unbelievable. The Iron Blood Taoist, was also shocked by Gu Fei's punch. Although he cultivated the immortal bird mystic art, it didn't mean that he wouldn't die. An expert like Gu Fei might have a way to kill him. The Iron Blood Taoist didn't want to take the risk. It was known that it wasn't easy for him to become a demi-saint. When the Saint-level Grand Formation calmed down, the Iron Blood Taoist surrendered. He had no choice but to surrender. His opponent's fist was harder than his own. In the cultivation world, whoever had the harder fist was the boss. It was that simple. The Iron Blood Taoist personally opened the Saint-level Grand Formation and welcomed Gu Fei and his disciple into the Phoenix Nest. The 13 bandits had now become the 12 bandits. No one dared to jump out to avenge the death of their 13th brother, Tu Qing. This was simply courting death. Tu Qing's death didn't matter. The others had to live, and they had to live well. As the higher-ups submitted to Gu Fei, the Iron Blood 13 banners also surrendered. Without much effort, Gu Fei and his disciple had taken down the Iron Blood 13 banners. Gu Fei and Gu Zhong were, after all, passers-by on the ancestral Buzhou star. They would eventually leave, and not many among the Iron Blood 13 banners would truly submit to them. They were well aware of this, so they didn't care about it. The first order Gu Fei gave after taking down the Iron Blood 13 banners was to find a way to the Soaring Dragon ancestral star. The Iron Blood Taoist and the other higher-ups were dumbfounded. Where was the Soaring Dragon ancestral star? Could it be another source of life outside of the ancestral Buzhou star? They had never heard of such a source of life. Chapter 1999. Time gradually passed. 5 years had passed in the blink of an eye. Yet the people of the Steel Blood 13 banners had not heard anything about the Soaring Dragon ancestral star. Perhaps it was because the Soaring Dragon ancestral star was too far away from Buzhou ancestral star that Gu Fei and the others could not have come to Buzhou ancestral star if it wasn't for a coincidence. It made sense that the cultivators of Buzhou ancestral star did not know about the Soaring Dragon ancestral star. Given the strength of the Steel Blood 13 banners, they could not find anything even after 5 years. Did they really have to venture into the human race's ancient path to the Middle Continent? There were still 5 years before the human race's ancient path to the Middle Continent's immortal mansion would open. For cultivators, the past 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. Although 5 years was short, it was enough for a lot of things to happen. The entire Buzhou ancestral star was in an uproar after the news of the opening of the Middle Continent's immortal mansion was announced. However, there was a limit to the number of people who could step onto the human race's ancient path. Only the strongest 100 experts could step onto the ancient path. Countless cultivators were preparing for it, as no one wanted to miss the opportunity. 5 years later, a grand competition would be held at the Middle Continent's immortal mansion to determine the top 100. The 100 winners would then be able to step onto the human race's ancient path. Both the rising geniuses and the older generation cultivators were qualified to participate in the grand competition. However, there was an exception: the saints who had sealed themselves. The saints who had sealed themselves were not allowed to participate in the grand competition, as the ancient path was a path of cultivation for those who had yet to become a saint. Inside the spirit cave in the phoenix nest, Gu Fei and Gu Zhong were sitting cross-legged on the ground, absorbing the dragon vein's spiritual qi. Apart from them, the steel blood Taoist was also cultivating in the spirit cave. Among the entire steel blood 13 banners, only the 3 of them were qualified to enter the spirit cave to cultivate. The others were not even qualified to enter. Even the 12 great bandits were the same. Master, what do you think is going on with the Outworld Ancient Road? Gu Zhong asked. He had heard from Gu Fei about the ancient path of extraterritorial lands. There was an ancient path of extraterritorial lands on Kunlun Ancestral Star that led to the Buzhou Ancestral Star. However, that was a path of no return. The array that was constructed could only be used for one-way teleportation. Although Gu Fei had modified the teleportation runes, allowing for two-way teleportation, it was impossible for Gu Fei to return to Kunlun. There were 5 ancestral planets marked on the immortal divine metal. The Kunlun ancestral planet was the closest to the Buzhou ancestral planet, while the Buzhou ancestral planet was the furthest away from the soaring dragon ancestral planet. Traveling across the infinite universe and returning to the soaring dragon ancestral star was not a practical method. Sometimes, Gu Fei wondered if there was some kind of connection between the 5 ancestral planets that allowed them to travel to and from one another through the ancient roads of the outer domains. Where does the ancient path of the Buzhou ancestral star lead to? This is an uncertain factor. Gu Fei said. The ancient path of the extraterritorial lands was incomparably dangerous. It was a training path for the human race. If one wasn't careful, they might even die on the way. If it leads to the soaring dragon ancestral star, Gu Zhong's eyes lit up. It's not impossible, but it's very unlikely. You should know that the soaring dragon ancestral star and the Buzhou ancestral star are separated by an infinite universe. Gu Fei didn't want to hurt Gu Zhong's confidence, but he had to say such words. No matter what, we have to give it a try. Gu Zhong said. He didn't want to be trapped in the Buzhou ancestral star for the rest of his life, because his family and friends were all there. Gu Fei nodded. Returning to the soaring dragon ancestral star was a must, but the key was how to do it. If it really didn't work, then they would spend decades to travel across the infinite universe and return to the soaring dragon ancestral star. Since Gu Fei had his inner world, it wouldn't matter even if he had to travel for a long time. As Gu Fei and his disciple conversed, they didn't use voice transmissions. Even though the Iron Blood Taoist was cultivating at the side, he still heard their conversation. He was shocked by the vastness of this world. There really were other ancestral stars with life, and Gu Fei and his disciple were cultivators from the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star. Apart from the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star, there was also the Kunlun Ancestral Star, which made the Iron Blood Taoist realize that the Buzhou Ancestral Star wasn't the only source of life. In the vast and boundless starry universe, there were other sources of life. The human race's ancient path. The Iron Blood Taoist was tempted, but only the top 100 cultivators of the Buzhou cultivation world could set foot on the human race's ancient path. Since then, the Iron Blood Taoist didn't need Gu Fei's orders. He sent out the Iron Blood 13 banner spies to investigate the ancient path. The more he learned, the more shocked he was. The human race's ancient path was basically a path of no return. Of course, there were exceptions. Some people who took the path returned as unparalleled experts. However, most of them disappeared the moment they set foot on the human race's ancient path. Danger and opportunity coexisted. The ancient path was a trial for the top 100 cultivators of the Buzhou Ancestral Star. Those who could complete the ancient path could become unparalleled experts, or even saints. However, compared to those who became unparalleled experts, there were many more who died on the human race's ancient path. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Gu Fei and Gu Zhong came out from seclusion and received all sorts of news, some of which shocked them. Zi Yunxiao of the Ziyun clan had appeared again. Wasn't he punished by Zi Su to face the wall for 1,000 years? Why did he come out so quickly? Gu Fei was surprised. Zi Yunxiao's younger sister, Zi Yun had also appeared out of nowhere. She continuously challenged demi-saints of the previous generation and was undefeated. It was not hard to imagine that Zi Yunxiao was able to come out so quickly. It was definitely because the human race's ancient path was about to open. The Ziyun clan did not want to miss this opportunity. Apart from Ziyun Xiao and his sister, the golden goddess of the gold family had also ended her 7-year seclusion and walked out of her seclusion grounds. At the same time, several heaven-defying figures had also appeared in the Middle Continent. These rising stars had completely overshadowed the demi-saints of the previous generation. They took advantage of the rapid rise of the Great Era to compete with the demi-saints of the previous generation. In this era, there was no lack of geniuses. In 2 years, the great competition of the Middle Continent would begin. Gu Fei and Gu Zhong were preparing. The Iron Blood Taoist was also preparing. He was also very interested in the human race's ancient path. All the cultivators who were interested in setting foot on the human race's ancient path were waiting quietly. The opening of the human race's ancient path had affected the mood of every cultivator. The performance of the younger generation was too eye-catching. The demi-saints of the previous generation felt great pressure. Chapter 2000. The Central State Grand Competition will begin in 3 days. The people of the Central State Immortal Mansion put up a notice stating that all cultivators, as long as they weren't saints who had sealed themselves, could sign up for the grand competition and compete for a spot on the human race's ancient road. Today was the first day, and there was a sea of people outside the Central State Immortal Mansion. Cultivators from the other regions of Buzhou Ancestral Star had arrived at the Central State Immortal Mansion. There was a row of tables in front of the entrance, and dozens of disciples of the Central State Immortal Mansion were bustling about. They were registering the cultivators participating in the Central State Grand Competition. Countless people were competing for the 100 spots. The competition was too fierce, but there was no other way. The Central State Immortal Mansion could only use this elimination method to eliminate the majority of the weak. Only the strong were qualified to set foot on the human race's ancient road. From morning to night, there was still a sea of people outside the Central State Immortal Mansion. The situation was too much for the disciples of the Central State Immortal Mansion to bear. The situation only improved on the second day, and the crowd gradually dispersed. However, there were still many people rushing to the Central State Immortal Mansion. On the third day, Gu Fei and Gu Zhong appeared. They had been secretly observing outside the Central State Immortal Mansion for 2 days, and they found that there weren't many true experts among the cultivators. The talents of the Central State Immortal Mansion didn't show up, nor did the Ziyun Xiao siblings. The Golden Goddess was nowhere to be seen, but these people were still able to keep their composure. The registration period for the third day would last until midnight. Gu Fei wasn't in a hurry. He planned to register at night since the true experts hadn't shown up yet, and he didn't want to show up too early. Gu Zhong wasn't in a hurry either, because he didn't plan to register at all. With his cultivation, it would be difficult for him to get a spot on the human race's ancient road. In the past 10 years, his cultivation hadn't broken through to the 5th Heaven Ascension realm. Even Gu Fei felt that this situation was a bit strange. At night, most of the cultivators gathered outside the Central State Immortal Mansion had dispersed, and only a few people were still wandering around. These people were those who hadn't decided whether or not to participate in the grand competition. Participating in the grand competition wasn't a trivial matter. They might be killed by their opponents during the competition. It's almost midnight. 2 people stood on a short mountain outside the Central Prefecture Immortal Abode. Yes. At this moment, Gu Fei discovered that someone was rushing towards the entrance of the Central Plains Immortal Estate. It was a woman clad in golden armor. She was none other than the Golden Goddess. These people have finally appeared, Gu Zhong said. He wasn't surprised at all. The disciples of the Central Province Immortal Mansion were not allowed to leave before the time of the world. However, if they arrived after midnight, then they would lose the opportunity to register. The Golden Goddess quickly left. After the Golden Goddess left, 3 more figures walked out from the moonlight and arrived at the entrance of the Central Prefecture's Immortal Abode. The 3 of them were the rumored 3 sons of the Central Prefecture. The 3 disciples of the Middle Prefecture weren't simple. They were all from the Middle Prefecture Immortal Manor. If they wanted to walk on the ancient path of the human race, they would have to sign up for the grand competition. There were no shortcuts. There were only 100 spots available. As long as one had the strength to enter the top 100, they would be able to step on the ancient path of the human race. However, if one's cultivation wasn't high enough and it was difficult to enter the top 100, then even the most outstanding disciple of the Central Prefecture Immortal Manor would be eliminated. After the 3 sons of the Central Prefecture registered, they chatted with the disciples of the Central Prefecture Immortal Manor for a while before leaving. Finally, when it was almost midnight, the Z siblings finally appeared. After registering, Ziyun sensed something and suddenly raised her head to look at the mountain where Gu Fei was. However, she didn't see anything. "Little sister, what's wrong?" Ziyun Xiao couldn't help but ask when he saw Ziyun's strange expression. "It's nothing. Let's go." Ziyun Xiao pulled Ziyun away, but Ziyun was still mumbling. "Was it just my imagination?" Ziyun seemed to sense that someone was watching her in the dark, but she couldn't find anything. Those who were supposed to be here had all arrived. Gu Fei also walked out from the dark, registered his name, received a jade token, and left. In the past few days, he saw that after everyone registered, the disciples of the Central Prefecture Immortal Manor would hand over a jade token to that person without saying anything. After entering the inner world, Gu Fei took a closer look at the jade token in his hand. I see. This was a messenger jade token. The jade token contained the name of Gu Fei's first opponent, as well as the time and location of the match and other information. Who is this Lu Dafeng? Where did he come from? Gu Fei muttered to himself. His first opponent was someone called Lu Dafeng, but there was no detailed information about this person on the jade token. Tomorrow afternoon, Crouching Bull Mountain, Gu Fei searched in his mind. This Crouching Bull Mountain was a black mountain range 300 miles away from the Middle State Immortal Abode. This mountain range was shaped like a big black bull lying on the ground, hence the name Crouching Bull Mountain. I don't care who he is. I just hope this unlucky guy can withstand a punch from me. Gu Fei muttered to himself. Because he had a match the next day, Gu Zhong and the others did not disturb him. Soon, 24 hours had passed. Gu Fei walked out of his inner world and rushed to Crouching Bull Mountain. When he arrived, Lu Dafeng was already waiting for him. So you're Gu Fei. Come, don't waste my time. Tell me, how many celestial stones do you want before you admit defeat? When he saw Gu Fei, Lu Dafeng walked up to him and opened his storage bag. This guy's storage bag was filled with spiritual qi. It was obvious that there were many good things in there. Gu Fei did not expect to meet a guy like this in his first match. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. Lu Dafeng was a big-bellied guy who was not even an immortal, yet he dared to participate in the Central Prefecture Grand Tournament. It was really a little embarrassing. This guy even tried to bribe Gu Fei, which made Gu Fei even more furious. Bam! Gu Fei did not say anything. He sent Lu Dafeng flying with a punch, searched the guy's jade pendant, and left. Oh my god. Why did you have to hit my nose? Just you wait. I'm not done with you. Lu Dafeng's nose was bleeding profusely as he limped down Crouching Bull Mountain. He kept cursing Gu Fei. He had probably sprained his leg when he was sent flying by Gu Fei. Just as Gu Fei easily defeated Lu Dafeng, the jade pendant that belonged to him quickly sent him a message. 6 hours later, Mirror Lake, Bu Sanmuk. Gu Fei was completely speechless. He even wondered if he was participating in the Central Prefecture Grand Tournament. Why were his opponents all the same? He had just defeated Lu Dafeng, and now there was Bu Sanmuk. Chapter 2001. Mingjing Lake was really a good place. The scenery was beautiful. The weeping willows swayed in the wind beside the lake. There was even a pair of mandarin ducks playing in the water. When he arrived at Mingjing Lake, Bu San was already waiting there. The monk stood on the surface of the lake. When he saw Gu Fei, he put his palms together and said to Gu Fei, benefactor, you were almost late. Being late is a bad habit. Making others wait for you is a sin in itself. Shrimp tofu, do you know what a sin is? Not only have you wasted your time, but you have also wasted others' time. Wasting time is equivalent to wasting one's life. Do you understand? Shrimp tofu, it's good enough to waste your time. Why are you wasting my time as well? Shrimp tofu, shut up. Gu Fei couldn't take it anymore. This damn baldy was like a fly. No, It was a bunch of flies buzzing around him. It was so annoying. Shut up. You told me to shut up. Shrimp tofu. You actually told me to shut up. You. Busan wanted to say more. You big baldy, eat my fist. Gu Fei didn't have time to talk nonsense with this big baldy. Before the monk could finish speaking, Gu Fei had already punched him. The ferocious wind from his punch caused the monk to involuntarily shut his mouth that had been chattering nonstop. Bang! With just another punch, the third monk was sent flying. A string of beads of blood flew out of his nose. With a bang, he fell into the lake. This time, Gu Fei sensed the jade card on Busan's body. When he sent Busan flying, the jade card on Busan's body had already fallen into his hands. Without hesitation, Gu Fei crushed Busan's jade pendant. Then, he turned around and left. With a splash, the monk Busan emerged from the lake. Outrageous, you shrimp tofu. Busan started to talk again. However, this time, he was the only one showing off. Gu Fei had already left. He really didn't know how this baldy beat his opponent. Could it be that his opponent was defeated by his foul mouth? Very soon, new information came from Gu Fei's jade pendant. 2 hours later, Wu Yun Peak. You Xiaochuan, a girl? Gu Fei was a little surprised. His third opponent was actually a girl. It was an unfair victory. However, in order to step on the human race's ancient path, he had to kill whoever he met. Wu Yun Peak was 1,000 miles away from the Central Prefecture Immortal Abode. It was a mountain that was thousands of miles high. The peak was usually surrounded by clouds. To Gu Fei, he had enough time to travel 1,000 miles in 2 hours. When he arrived at Wu Yun Peak, Yu Xiaochuan was still nowhere to be seen. Gu Fei found a big rock on the peak and sat cross-legged, quietly waiting for the arrival of his opponent. Just as the time was almost up, a sword light flew over from afar and landed on Five Clouds Peak. The sword light dissipated and a person appeared. What? When Gu Fei saw this person, he was even more surprised. This Yu Xiaochuan was actually a man. Damn, was there a mistake? A man actually had a girl's name. You are Gu Fei. Yu Xiaochuan's voice was gentle and delicate. It was a woman's voice. Moreover, he took out an embroidered handkerchief from his body and wiped the beads of sweat off his forehead. The orchid fingers that were pinching the handkerchief almost made Gu Fei vomit out the food he had eaten the night before. Damn, it was disgusting enough for a man to have a girl's name. But this man was also a sissy. That was really disgusting. Oh heavens, oh earth. What kind of people came to participate in the Central Prefecture competition? Gu Fei had the urge to go crazy. Be careful. I practiced the Jade Maiden Sword technique. I'm coming. Yu Xiaochuan directly used the Imperial Sword technique and attacked Gu Fei. Although this guy was a tall and sturdy man, his movements seemed to be even gentler than a real woman's. It can't be that he practiced the Jade Maiden Sword technique and became like this, right? Gu Fei thought that it was most likely because of this. What a sin! Who was this sissy's master? A young man actually became like this. His master should be dragged to be fed to the beasts. Bang! Gu Fei punched out again, directly sending Yu Xiaochuan's flying sword flying. His fist landed on Yu Xiaochuan's face, causing him to fly backwards and bleed from his nose. You actually hit my nose and ruined my beauty. I'll fight you to the death. Yu Xiaochuan's hair was disheveled. Like a shrew, she crawled up from the ground and fiercely pounced towards Gu Fei. She looked like a tigress going all out. Ouch! Gu Fei was shocked by Yu Xiaochuan's actions. He immediately rushed into the sky and flew into the air. Fortunately, when he sent the sissy flying, he had already taken away the jade tablet from the sissy's body. Victory and defeat had been decided. He couldn't be bothered with the sissy on the mountain peak. He directly crushed the jade tablet and left the Five Clouds Peak. Just like that, Gu Fei rushed from place to place, constantly fighting with all kinds of people. In a single day, he had actually fought 12 battles. Amongst these 12 opponents, only a few were truly talented. Most of the others were just bystanders. These people couldn't even withstand a single blow. The first round of the competition ended at midnight. Gu Fei eliminated 12 opponents. The people who were eliminated in this round accounted for the majority of the competition. As for those who were truly capable, they wouldn't be eliminated so quickly. However, if they were to encounter Gu Fei, they would still be eliminated. Gu Fei returned to the inner world. Master, how did the competition go? When Gu Fei returned to the inner world, Gu Zhong came to greet him. At this time, Zhong Liming, Old Jiao, and Gu Fei's new disciple, Yao Yu, were all in seclusion. In the past 10 years, Yao Yu's cultivation had improved the fastest. With Gu Zhong's help, she had already become a demigod. In the past, this kind of cultivation speed was absolutely unimaginable. Hearing Gu Zhong ask about the competition, Gu Fei's face immediately darkened. Then, without saying a word, he walked into the place where he usually cultivated. What's wrong? Gu Zhong was left behind with a look of astonishment. Seeing his master's expression, Gu Zhong knew that something was wrong. He didn't dare to disturb his master when he was angry. Logically speaking, master shouldn't have lost. Just what could have made master so unhappy? Chapter 2002. After the first round of the Grand Tournament of the Central Province, the participants could rest for a day before continuing on to the second round. A day passed by very quickly. On the same day, when the sun rose from the east, the jade medallion on Gu Fei's body transmitted new information. This time, his opponent was a prodigy from the Central Province Immortal Manor. Just as Gu Fei received the new information, in a pavilion in the Central Province Immortal Manor, several white-haired old men were discussing. Is this really a good idea? They actually sent an outstanding disciple of our Central Province Immortal Manor to fight against this Gu Fei, an old man said. An old man said? From his tone, one could tell that he was somewhat worried. Gu Fei's performance was pretty good. In the first round of the competition, not a single person was able to receive a single punch from him. And today, in the second round, the people of the Central Province Immortal Manor arranged for an outstanding disciple of the Central Province Immortal Manor to fight against Gu Fei. This was very risky. This is the only way to test out this person's true strength. The reason we organize the Grand Tournament is to uncover the limitless potential of the human race. Another white-haired old man said, Eldest senior brother is right. The other old men agreed. This Gu Fei isn't a nobody. He rose to fame in the southern region and once defeated Zi Yunxiao. I want to see exactly how strong he is. The eldest senior brother said, What? This person actually defeated Zi Yunxiao of the Ziyun clan? The other old men were all shocked when they heard this. In the Central Province Immortal Manor, there were 3 most famous geniuses. However, other than those 3, there were also many less famous geniuses. The cultivation and strength of these geniuses weren't too far off from those 3 geniuses. Jun Wuya was one of the 10 prodigies of the Central Province Immortal Manor. He knew that his cultivation was definitely not weaker than those 3 senior brothers, but he wasn't as famous as them. Gu Fei. Why did the elders of the sect arrange for Gu Fei to be my opponent in the second round? Jun Wuya mumbled to himself. He did not understand. He knew about Gu Fei. 10 years ago, this person had defeated Zi Yunxiao of the Ziyun clan. Such a battle record could be considered extremely glorious. One must know that Zi Yunxiao was publicly acknowledged as the #1 person amongst the younger generation of the southern region 10 years ago. Zi Yunxiao came from the Violet Cloud clan, a sovereign clan. He possessed the bloodline of the Violet Cloud sovereign and was blessed by the heavens. His strength was without a doubt. For Gu Fei to be able to defeat Zi Yunxiao, it was enough to prove his strength. Thousand Zhang Cliff, Jun Wuya. At this moment, Gu Fei had already left his inner world and was rushing towards the Thousand Zhang Cliff. The Thousand Zhang Cliff wasn't very far from the Middle Prefecture Immortal Abode. It was only 800 li away. Soon, Gu Fei arrived at the Thousand Zhang Cliff. This Thousand Zhang Cliff was just an ordinary cliff. Not a single blade of grass grew on the top of the cliff. The top of the cliff was only 100 zhang in circumference, and it was filled with yellow sand and stones. By the time Gu Fei arrived at the Thousand Zhang Cliff, Jun Wuya was already waiting for him there. So you're Gu Fei, the one who defeated Zi Yunxiao back then? Seeing Gu Fei's arrival, Jun Wuya's eyes flashed as a strong battle intent was emitted from his body. So you're one of the top 10 heroes of the Middle Prefecture, Jun Wuya? Gu Fei came to a spot about 3 zhang away from Jun Wuya and sized up his opponent. Let's begin, Gu Fei said. This was a decent opponent with the strength of a quasi-saint. However, he was unlucky to have met Gu Fei. The outcome of this battle had long been decided. There was no suspense in the following battle. Jun Wuya still couldn't withstand a single punch from Gu Fei. Jun Wuya was defeated. Thoroughly defeated. He was thrown off the Thousand Zhang cliff by a single punch from Gu Fei. Gu Fei did not kill Jun Wuya. Jun Wuya was only injured but not killed. It's still one move. The few elders of the Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion were shocked by Gu Fei's methods. From the dazzling light mirror, they could clearly see every move Gu Fei made when he defeated Jun Wuya on the Thousand Zhang cliff. How is this possible? Jun Wuya is one of the top 10 heroes of our Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion. Jun Wuya was defeated by Gu Fei with a single punch. The few elders of the Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion in the pavilion were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe that Gu Fei's battle strength was too strong. Who could defeat Jun Wuya with a single move? Gu Fei did it. Soon, the news of Gu Fei defeating Jun Wuya with a single move spread throughout the entire Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion. The entire Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion was shaken. Even the old Immortal Mansion master, who had been indifferent for many years, was shocked. The initiative of the Central Province Grand Tournament was in the hands of the Central Province Immortal Mansion. They could decide who would fight whom and where the fights would take place. Arrange for one of the three to fight Gu Fei. The old Immortal Mansion master personally oversaw the competition pavilion. Yes, the few elders immediately got busy. Those who could attract the attention of the elders were the absolute minority in the grand competition. The elders couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the others and left them to their disciples to deal with. What a pity. I thought the top 10 heroes of our Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion would be on the list. The old Immortal Mansion master let out a long sigh. A defeat was a defeat. Although Jun Wuxie had good potential, as long as he was defeated in the grand competition, he would still be eliminated and lose the qualification to step on the ancient road of the human clan. Jun Wuxie was defeated. I'm looking forward to fighting with you. In the Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion, a white-robed young man sitting cross-legged in a stone room said, Wu Daoyi, 800 Li Black Demon Ridge. After defeating Jun Wuya, Gu Fei's Jade Token soon received a message from the Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion. When he read the message, he couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Whether it was the opponent or the location of the competition, both surprised him. Wu Daoyi was one of the 3 sons of the Middle Prefecture, the most outstanding disciples of the Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion. Wu Daoyi's cultivation and strength were definitely at the top of the top. To be able to fight such an expert was also a good thing for Gu Fei. Among the top 10 heroes of the Middle Prefecture, Jun Wuya's cultivation was below average, but Wu Daoyi's cultivation was definitely in the top 3, or even higher. As for the location of the competition, Gu Fei was also surprised. The Black Demon Ridge was not an ordinary place. It was a demonic mountain that had an indescribable demonic aura. Legend had it that in ancient times, it was the place where the great sage of the human clan had slain a demon. The mountains of the Black Demon Ridge were all black, very different from other places. Some people said that it was dyed with the demonic blood of a great demon that had been slain by the great sage of the human clan. In short, the Black Demon Ridge was an ominous place. Even birds wouldn't fly there, and no animals could be seen on the Black Demon Ridge. Moreover, the Black Demon Ridge was very far from the Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion. Of course, a distance of 10,000 li was nothing to an expert like Gu Fei. When Gu Fei reached the Black Demon Ridge, Wu Daoyi had yet to arrive. He possessed the world's fastest speed, and no demi-sage could catch up to him. There's something strange about this place. Could a great demon really have been slain by the great sage of the human clan here? When Gu Fei ascended the Black Demon Ridge, he could clearly sense the faintly discernible demonic aura exuding from the ridge. Although the demonic aura here was very weak, it was definitely there. Just as Gu Fei was about to carefully sense the demonic aura on the mountain and find its source, a powerful aura suddenly appeared in the sky. He's here. Gu Fei lifted his head and saw a white-robed man walking in the air towards the Black Demon Ridge. With every step this person took, a Tao pattern emerged under his feet. Wu Daoyi. When Gu Fei saw this person, his pupils involuntarily contracted. This was a young man, a handsome and radiant young man with a perpetual smile on his face. So you're Gu Fei? Wu Daoyi smiled and stopped about 15 feet away from Gu Fei. I heard that you defeated Jun Wuya in one move. You're really powerful. Wu Daoyi gave a thumbs up to Gu Fei. This is nothing. If you were to fight, I'm afraid you could also defeat Jun Wuxia in one move. Gu Fei said seriously. The difference in strength between the top 10 heroes of the Central Prefecture was indeed huge. This Wu Daoyi was very strong, at least much stronger than Jun Wuya. If Wu Daoyi were to fight Jun Wuxia, he would also be able to defeat him easily. Hee, Dao friend must be joking. Wu Daoyi said with a smile. Let's begin. Gu Fei didn't want to say anything more. He had already guessed that this so-called Central Prefecture Grand Tournament was actually controlled by the Central Prefecture Immortal Manor. His opponents would only get stronger and stronger. He was very much looking forward to which experts the Central Prefecture Immortal Manor would arrange to fight against him. All right then. Wu Daoyi smiled, and after that, his entire person suddenly disappeared from the spot. What? Gu Fei was taken aback. He instinctively took a step to the left, and with this step, he evaded a cold ray of light from Wu Daoyi. It was a silver needle. This? Gu Fei's heart pounded. These silver needles were almost transparent. If it wasn't for his good eyesight, he wouldn't have been able to see the trajectory of these silver needles. Other people hide daggers in their smiles, but this guy is hiding needles in his smile. Gu Fei didn't dare to be careless. It wasn't a good thing to be pierced by these needles. Great Sky Covering Palm. Gu Fei directly displayed his martial arts battle technique. A giant chaotic palm appeared in the void, emitting an unparalleled energy fluctuation, and slammed down on Wu Daoyi's head. The giant chaotic palm shrouded in all directions. Wu Daoyi couldn't avoid it, and could only take Gu Fei's attack head-on. Boom! With a loud bang, Wu Daoyi was slammed into the mountain by the chaotic palm. The entire Black Demon Ridge almost collapsed, and cracks appeared on the mountain. Through the dazzling light mirror, the old prefecture master and the others in the Central Prefecture Immortal Manor couldn't help but be shocked when they saw this scene. This kind of battle technique, could it be a long-lost martial arts battle technique? The old prefecture master said excitedly. The Central Prefecture Immortal Manor was different from ordinary forces. The Central Prefecture Immortal Manor had existed for countless years, and naturally knew many secrets of the world. In ancient times, martial arts battle techniques were incomparably powerful. Chapter 2003. A lost martial arts battle technique has resurfaced in this world. The old mansion lord's hoarse voice resounded in the pavilion. Everyone was incomparably shocked. It had been a long time since the old mansion lord sighed in admiration. It seems like our Central Province Immortal Mansion will lose another quota. The old mansion lord said. Lord Mansion Lord, could it be that Wu Daoyi is actually not a match for Gu Fei? The eldest senior brother of the group of elders said in a trembling voice. Wu Daoyi was a peerless expert ranked in the top 3 of the top 10 heroes of the Central Province Immortal Mansion. You should know that in the distant past, invincible cultivators in the same realm wasn't just a legend, but something that really happened, the old mansion lord said. He wasn't optimistic about Wu Daoyi's chances. Although Wu Daoyi was very strong, in this grand competition, if it wasn't for his opponent being Gu Fei, there would definitely be a spot for him in the top 100. The group of elders in the pavilion was speechless. At this time, on the Black Devil Ridge, Gu Fei and Wu Daoyi were engaged in a fierce battle. Wu Daoyi was slammed into the mountain by Gu Fei's heaven-covering palm. Wu Daoyi then broke out of the ground and displayed his divine ability. Countless silver needles danced around his body, transforming into rays of almost transparent light that pierced towards Gu Fei. A grown man learning how to play with needles like a woman. Gu Fei was speechless. This Wu Daoyi was indeed different from the others. He was very proficient in using his flying needles. Even a woman wouldn't be able to play with needles as well. Countless rays of light that were hard to see with the naked eye pierced towards Gu Fei. Gu Fei used his movement technique and moved rapidly in the air. These rays of light formed by the divine needles were very fast. Gu Fei only felt a stabbing pain on his shoulder. He knew that he had been hit by a few silver needles. It was unknown what kind of divine material these silver needles were made of, but they could actually pierce into Gu Fei's skin and flesh. Moreover, these silver needles could even enter his body through his blood and qi. Oomph! Gu Fei coldly snorted. His physical strength erupted, forcibly forcing out the silver needles that had pierced into his shoulder. When Wu Daoyi sensed that his silver needles had been forced out of his body, he was extremely shocked. After all, the needles he practiced were different from the others. Once the needles pierced into a person's flesh and blood, they would be difficult to force out. They would enter the person's body through the person's qi and blood. Then, with a thought from Wu Daoxin, the needles would explode. Although it was just a small silver needle, the power contained within it was enough to blast a great perfection quasi-sage into ashes. It was incomparably powerful. However, before Wu Daoyi could make a move, Gu Fei had already forced the silver needles out of his flesh, causing his silver needles to be useless. Roar! Gu Fei bellowed. Immediately after, an incomparably powerful wave of essence qi burst out from his body. Primal chaos Dao patterns emerged from his body. Let's see if your divine needle is stronger, or if my martial body is stronger. Gu Fei's physical strength was on full display. Primal chaos Dao patterns condensed in his flesh and bones. At this moment, his flesh and bones were bestowed with the power of the Grand Dao. Although there were many Dao patterns on his body, if one looked carefully, they would only see 9 Dao patterns. How is this possible? The old prefecture master exclaimed in a pavilion in the immortal mansion of Central Prefecture. In front of him was a huge, dazzling mirror, which clearly displayed the fight between Gu Fei and Wu Daoyi on the Black Demon Ridge. When he saw the primal chaos Dao patterns on Gu Fei's body, the old prefecture master immediately cried out in excitement. Lord Prefecture Master, the elders in the pavilion couldn't help but be surprised to see the old prefecture master so excited. It had been a long time since the old prefecture master was this excited. The old prefecture master was a super antique who had lived for countless years. Even the current prefecture master of Central Prefecture Master had to greet the old prefecture master as ancestral master. It's the 9 sanctification Dao patterns. How is this possible? How could such Dao patterns appear on someone who's only at the peak of the quasi-sage realm? The old prefecture master couldn't help but be moved. One had to know that the 9 sanctification Dao patterns could only truly condense and take form when one became a sage. How could it appear on someone who hadn't even become a sage yet? As expected of a super antique who had lived for countless years, the old prefecture master quickly calmed his emotions. Then, after a careful observation, he discovered something strange. The 9 Dao patterns that had appeared on Gu Fei's body were blurry, as if they were still in the process of evolving. So it's only the embryonic form of the 9 Dao patterns, not the true 9 Dao patterns. The old prefecture master suddenly understood. Even so, the embryonic form of the 9 Dao patterns was enough to shock the world. After all, this was the foundation of becoming a sage. This young man's future was limitless. Among all the cultivators participating in the Central Prefecture Grand Competition, he had the highest chance of becoming a sage. While the old prefecture master was in awe, the duel between Gu Fei and Wu Daoyi had reached its climax. Gu Fei directly used his martial body to resist Wu Daoyi's divine needles. Gu Fei's martial body was fully unleashed, and Dao patterns appeared. His entire being was like a humanoid immortal metal. Wu Daoyi's divine needles were directly deflected when they struck Gu Fei's body. The situation had reversed. Gu Fei was now undefeatable. It was only a matter of time before Wu Daoyi was defeated. The outcome was irreversible. In the end, Wu Daoyi had no choice but to admit defeat. He handed over his jade token and turned to leave. Although he was unwilling, he wholeheartedly accepted his loss. Gu Fei's cultivation was indeed strong. He could feel that Gu Fei had not used his full strength. The news of Wu Daoyi's defeat spread quickly. The morale of the Central Prefecture Immortal Mansion was greatly affected. First it was Jun Wuya, then it was Wu Daoyi. 2 of the Central Prefecture's 10 prodigies had already been defeated by Gu Fei. Gu Fei left the Black Demon Ridge and entered his own inner world. If he guessed correctly, those fellows in the Central Prefecture Immortal Mansion would not find an opponent for him so quickly. Therefore, he could first adjust his body to its peak condition. As expected, after Wu Daoi's defeat, the elders in the Central Prefecture Immortal Mansion were instantly thrown into disarray. The Central Prefecture Immortal Mansion had lost 2 spots to walk the human race's ancient road. Gu Fei's potential was limitless. He was probably invincible among those at the same level. Because of the Central Prefecture Grand Competition, the city was already overcrowded. Cultivators could be seen everywhere on the streets and alleys. In a courtyard within Central Continent City, there was a man and a woman drinking with each other. It was noon and the sun was shining brightly. However, the trees in the courtyard made it very cool. Big brother, that guy has disappeared for 10 years. He finally showed up. A girl in purple said fiercely, Big brother, if I meet that guy, I'll definitely help you vent your anger and beat him up. Don't be reckless. 10 years is not a long time, but it's not a short time either. No one knows how strong that person's cultivation and strength have become. The man in purple said solemnly. The man and woman were Ziyun Xiao and his sister. The Ziyun clan still had some businesses in Continent Center City, so Ziyun Xiao and his sister temporarily lived in this courtyard in the city. I heard that Jun Wuya and Wu Daoi, one of the 3 sons of the Central Prefecture, were defeated by him. Ziyun Xiao's frown deepened. The 3 sons of the Central Prefecture have an undeserved reputation. How can they compare to you, big brother? I have confidence in you. Ziyun patted Ziyun Xiao's shoulder and said. Ziyun Xiao glanced at his sister and said, The 10 geniuses of the Central Prefecture are not undeserved. I've seen Wu Daoi before. His cultivation is probably not below mine. Big brother, why are you praising others and belittling yourself? If you have this kind of mentality, I think even if you meet Gu Fei, there's no need to fight. Just admit defeat. Ziyuner said. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. There's a competition tomorrow. I need to prepare. As Ziyun Xiao spoke, he stood up and walked into the room. Gu Fei, you little brat. Don't let me meet you. If I do, I'll definitely let you have a taste of my fist. Ziyun waved her fist and said fiercely. I didn't expect Big Brother to be so strong. He actually defeated Wu Daoi. In an inn in the Central Prefecture, on a futon in a room sat a Taoist in azure robes. This Taoist was the Iron Blood Taoist. After Gu Fei and Gu Zhong left the 13 Iron Blood Flags, the Iron Blood Taoist also left the 13 Iron Blood Flags. Then, the Iron Blood Taoist came to the Central Prefecture to participate in the Central Prefecture Grand Competition. The news of Gu Fei defeating Wu Daoi naturally reached the Iron Blood Taoist's ears. The 3 sons of the Central Prefecture did not have an undeserved reputation. They did not earn their fame by being called out, but by fighting with their strength. Wu Daoi's defeat at the hands of Gu Fei made all the cultivators wary of Gu Fei. They were afraid that they would meet such an abnormal opponent in the grand competition. Gu Fei entered his own inner world. Naturally, he did not know that he had become so famous. At this time, the elders of the Central Prefecture Immortal Mansion, who arranged the written test, deliberately told some of the experts with potential to avoid Gu Fei. It should be known that if these people met Gu Fei, there would only be one ending. They would be eliminated. The elders of the Central Prefecture Immortal Mansion naturally did not want to see too many geniuses being eliminated. This Gu Fei was simply a genius killer. On the peak of a mountain, a woman in golden armor was fighting a sword cultivator. This sword cultivator was extremely powerful. The sword chi that he released could soar into the sky and cut through everything. The woman was obviously stronger. Very quickly, the sword cultivator abandoned his sword and admitted defeat. Gu Fei, I'm really looking forward to it, the golden goddess muttered to herself. At this time, Gu Fei was very depressed. There had been no news from his jade token for a few days. He even suspected that he had been forgotten by the people of the Central Prefecture Immortal Mansion. Chapter 2004. The Middle State Grand Competition continued. Because there were too many participants, it was hard to determine the top 100 in such a short amount of time. At this time, Gu Fei hadn't received any messages from the Middle State Immortal Mansion for several days. His jade token had been silent for a few days already. Just as Gu Fei was getting impatient, Gu Fei's jade token finally moved. Middle State Immortal Mansion's desolate pocket world? What kind of place is that? Gu Fei was surprised. The message he received was only a place with no opponents. What did this mean? This made Gu Fei very confused. However, soon after, the Middle State Immortal Mansion sent a few more messages. When Gu Fei saw these messages, he finally understood what had happened. It turned out that there was a desolate pocket world in the Middle State Immortal Mansion. After the ancient desolate world was destroyed, a supreme saint used his power to capture a small fragment of the desolate pocket world and refined it into a desolate pocket world. The Middle State Grand Competition had already entered the climax. 500 experts from various places stood out. Now was the time to determine the top 100. The 500 experts would be sent into the desolate pocket world to compete for the spots to enter the human race's ancient path. The rules after entering the desolate pocket world were very simple. As long as someone collected 5 jade tokens from others, they would be able to leave the desolate pocket world and obtain the qualifications to enter the human race's ancient path. This was an elimination system of 5. The 500 experts were scattered all over the desolate pocket world to compete for the last 100 spots. Gu Fei arrived at the Middle State Immortal Mansion on time. At this time, there were already hundreds of people waiting. Gu Fei, it's really you. Ziyunxiao walked over. Beside him, there was a young girl in purple. This young girl was Ziyunxiao's younger sister, Ziyuner. Ziyuner looked like she would never grow up. She still had a cute appearance. Gu Fei, you better be careful. Once you enter the desolate pocket world, I'm going to beat you up. Ziyuner waved her fist at Gu Fei. Hearing that this person was Gu Fei, the surrounding cultivators, Shua, everyone dodged to the side. This guy was famous for his strength. Even Wu Daoyi had been defeated by him. Many people had already made up their minds that as long as they saw Gu Fei's shadow, they would have to take a detour. However, this little girl actually dared to openly challenge Gu Fei. Her courage was truly commendable and worthy of admiration. You want to beat me? Gu Fei smiled. Even though Ziyun's cultivation base was not weak, she was definitely no match for him. Could this little girl have some sort of trump card? The Ziyun clan was a sovereign clan. A clan like that had an extremely deep foundation. It seemed that I had to be careful. If I were to fail at such an easy task, then I would be in deep trouble. Gu Fei, you'd better return that drop of god blood to me. Ziyunxiao stared at Gu Fei and spoke in an extremely serious manner. That drop of god blood was extremely important to the Ziyun clan. In the past 10 years, Gu Fei and Gu Zhong had hidden themselves in the Phoenix's Nest, the headquarters of the 13 Iron Blood Banners. Even when the Ziyun clan sent out all the experts, they could not find Gu Fei's whereabouts. Now that Gu Fei had appeared, Ziyunxiao naturally did not want to let go of the chance to retrieve the drop of god blood. Gu Fei glanced at Ziyunxiao and said, "Since it's in my hands, do you think I'll just give it to you like this? What do you want in exchange for the drop of god blood?" Ziyun's smiling face turned bright red. She had the urge to punch Gu Fei in the face. Let me think. I've got it. How about this? You stay by my side and serve me for 100 years. Then, I'll return the drop of god blood to you. Gu Fei pondered for a moment before saying, "You don't even think about it." Ziyun immediately jumped up. This guy was really asking for a beating. The Ziyun clan cannot accept such a condition. Ziyunxiao was furious after hearing Gu Fei's words. However, after facing the wall for 10 years, his self-control had improved. Even though he was furious, he endured it and did not explode. Then there's only one way for you to retrieve the drop of god blood. Gu Fei said. What is it? Ziyunxiao and Ziyun's eyes instantly brightened. Gu Fei smiled and said, "It's very simple. You just have to defeat me, and the drop of god blood is yours." Ziyunxiao gritted his teeth and clenched his fists tightly. He was on the verge of pouncing forward and beating Gu Fei up. If we could defeat you even if we had to die, why would we still be here talking nonsense with you? Did you really have nothing better to do? Clang. Just as Zi Yunxiao was about to go berserk, a bell rang from the depths of the immortal's estate. Then, a few old men with white hair walked down from a pavilion. "Everyone, please follow us," the leader of the group of old men said to the crowd and walked towards the depths of the immortal's estate. Within the immortal's estate, there were beautiful sceneries everywhere. There were birds chirping and flowers fragrant. There were small bridges and flowing water. It was like a paradise on earth. A place like this occupied a radius of 100 miles. Within this radius, there were many pavilions dotting the landscape. There were also many entrances to the grottos. The entrance to the boorish little world was located in the depths of the immortal's estate. Soon, the crowd followed the group of old men and arrived in front of a stone door. "This is the entrance to the boorish little world. If the jade plate in your hands is broken or stolen by someone else, you will be teleported out of the boorish little world. At the same time, those who are teleported out of the boorish little world will lose the right to walk the ancient road of the human race." The leader of the group said, "If you have no objections, we will open the boorish little world." The old man looked at the crowd and said. No one said anything. This was very fair. 500 experts would enter the boorish little world and rely on their own strength to obtain the jade plates of others. As long as they collected 5 jade plates, they would be able to obtain a spot to enter the ancient road of the human race. This seemed simple, as they only needed to collect 5 jade plates. However, among the people who managed to reach this stage step by step from the grand competition of the central province, none of them were weak. The competition in the boorish little world was extremely fierce. Apart from a few strong people, the others would have to engage in a fierce battle to determine the winner. The few old men moved. There was a seal on the stone door. The old man used the secret technique of the immortal's estate to undo the seal. The tightly closed stone door slowly opened. An ancient aura of the boorish little world immediately gushed out from behind the stone door. It was as if there was a real boorish little world behind the stone door. Everyone couldn't help but be moved. The central province immortal's estate was really generous. They actually had such a small world. Some people were incomparably shocked because they knew that this boorish little world was most likely refined from a small fragment of the great desolate world. The ancient aura of the boorish little world was definitely not fake. Chapter 2005. The aura of the wilderness is overwhelming. This is indeed a desolate world. Gu Fei stood on top of a tree and looked around. Everything he saw was greenery with towering trees standing on the ground. These trees were huge. The smaller ones were more than 300 meters tall, while the bigger ones were more than 3,000 meters tall. Their huge canopies covered a radius of 20 to 30 miles. Such trees were considered rare on ancestral planet Buzhou. Vines could be seen climbing up these trees. It was unknown how long these vines were. For a human to appear in such a place, it was practically negligible. It was very insignificant. Roar. The roar of beasts came from afar. Many large birds flew out from the forest. The creatures in this desolate world were very powerful. Even those large birds emitted a fierce, murderous aura. This was the result of countless slaughters over a long period of time. The desolate world was not peaceful. There were wild beasts here, and it seemed that some people were going to be out of luck. A powerful and ruthless aura came from the forest in the distance. Gu Fei couldn't help but frown. There were wild beasts in the forest ahead. This sort of savage beast was very territorial. As long as it was a living being that trespassed into its territory, it would mercilessly hunt it down and eat it. This was the desolate world, a world where the strong preyed on the weak. Only the strong could survive here, and the weak could only be eliminated. What a miraculous teleportation formation. It actually sent everyone to different places in this world. Gu Fei sensed that there were no other cultivators nearby. In other words, the 500 experts were separated the moment they entered this world. This was the same as the virtual sky world. It also sent people to different places. This way, it would not be easy to collect the 5 jade plates. First, they had to find the cultivators in this small world. Gu Fei sneered and soared into the sky, flying towards the depths of this small world. Iron Blood Taoist was undoubtedly lucky because he successfully became one of the 500 experts and was allowed to enter this small world. In this small world, he only needed to defeat 5 people. However, his luck seemed to have disappeared the moment he entered the wildlands. Leave behind your jade pendant and scram. At this moment, the Iron Blood Taoist was blocked by 3 experts in a valley. One of them looked like a wild man. He wore beast skin and held a mace in his hand. His tall body was surrounded by a terrifying murderous aura. The other 2 were 2 young Taoists in Taoist robes. I didn't expect that the people from the South Pole Immortal Manor would actually be colluding with someone as ferocious as the Mad Wolf. Today, my horizons have been broadened. The Iron Blood Taoist said coldly. The 2 young Taoists were from the South Pole Immortal Abode, while the savage was a savage from the southern region of Bujo Ancestral Star, the Mad Wolf. We are only temporarily working together. What collusion? Don't make it sound so bad. A young Taoist said, Brother Iron Blood, you don't seem to be a good person either. The 13 Iron Blood Banners have harmed countless people. You're the boss of the 13 Great Bandits, so of course you're worse than them. Another young Taoist said, Why are you wasting time with this person? Kill him with 1 strike and continue to snatch the next one. The Mad Wolf said impatiently, If that's the case, then do it. The 2 young Taoists immediately retreated. They did not intend to do it themselves. TSK, what kind of righteous sect are you? You're so timid and cautious. The Mad Wolf walked forward and smashed the mace in his hand at the Iron Blood Taoist. The violent force caused pitch-black spatial cracks to appear around the mace. The Iron Blood Taoist could not help but change his expression. Swoosh. The Iron Blood Taoist took a step sideways, wanting to dodge the Mad Wolf's attack. However, the Mad Wolf was not an ordinary expert. His mace changed from smashing downwards to sweeping across. Whoosh. The pitch-black mace swept towards the Iron Blood Taoist, stirring up a strong wind that hurt the skin of the Iron Blood Taoist's face. He could barely open his eyes. This guy, the Iron Blood Taoist, was really shocked. The other party's physical strength was very strong, and he could easily change his move in an instant. This made him a little helpless. Roar. The Iron Blood Taoist roared angrily, and the shadow of a blazing phoenix suddenly appeared on his body. The Mad Wolf's mace smashed onto the shadow. The powerful force directly sent the Iron Blood Taoist flying, and he broke 7 or 8 trees in a row before stopping. Wow! The Iron Blood Taoist stood up from the ground. Suddenly, his face flushed red, and he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked a little tired. What 13 great bandits? They're all people who don't deserve their reputation. They can't take a blow from me. The Mad Wolf rushed towards the Iron Blood Taoist. The entire ground shook with every step he took, as if a giant was running. This guy, the 2 successors of the South Pole Immortal Abode, couldn't help but be shocked when they saw how fierce the Mad Wolf was. The ferocious name of the Berserk Wolf was indeed wild and ferocious. Moreover, this guy was also incomparably strong. Many people had died under his mace. Die. The Mad Wolf raised the mace in his hand and smashed it at the Iron Blood Taoist. The powerful force shook the sky and earth. Ridiculous. You think I'm a sick cat if I don't show my power? The Iron Blood Taoist was shocked and angry. The Mad Wolf was indeed fierce, but he was not to be trifled with. The people of the Iron Blood 13 Banners were not to be trifled with. Boom. An extremely powerful aura exploded from the Iron Blood Taoist's body. He used the Immortal Bird mystic art, and his injuries instantly healed. Swoosh. He left an afterimage on the spot, and his real body dodged the mace. Boom. The mace hit the ground, and the earth shook. The trees within a few hundred meters all fell, and the ground undulated like waves. A large crater appeared in front of Mad Wolf with this strike. At this moment, the Iron Blood Taoist's right hand was like a huge blade, slashing at the Mad Wolf's waist. The power of the Immortal Bird gathered in his right hand, and his entire arm turned into a saber light, condensed from the divine fire of the Immortal Bird. Bang! The Iron Blood Taoist's hand landed on the Mad Wolf's waist, but the Mad Wolf wasn't split into 2, nor was he sent flying. He only staggered 5 or 6 steps to the side before regaining his balance. What? The Iron Blood Taoist was dumbfounded. There wasn't even a mark left on the Mad Wolf's waist. His attack seemed to be scratching the Mad Wolf's itch. Unexpectedly, Berserk Wolf's physical body was so strong that he could withstand a strike from a great perfection half-sage and emerge unscathed. Only Gu Fei's martial body could compare to such a strong physical body. Very well, you've successfully angered me. The Mad Wolf's eyes shone with a murderous light. He continued to attack the Iron Blood Taoist, using his mace to force the Iron Blood Taoist to retreat. He was actually suppressing the Iron Blood Taoist. The Iron Blood Taoist's immortal bird mystic art was extremely mysterious. This mystic art was best for taking hits, and any injuries suffered by the body could be healed in an instant. Without any suspense, the Iron Blood Taoist's defeat was only a matter of time. Moreover, among the three of them, only the Mad Wolf was attacking. If the other two from the South Pole Immortal Mansion were to attack, the Iron Blood Taoist would have been subdued long ago. Bang! The Iron Blood Taoist was sent flying again with a swing of the mace. A trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. The other party was too strong, and he was no match for him. Go! Since he couldn't win, he would retreat. Just as the Iron Blood Taoist was about to leave, the other two from the South Pole Immortal Mansion moved. You guys! A figure appeared in front of the Iron Blood Taoist, blocking his path. Hand over the jade pendants and everything will be fine. A young Taoist in front of the Iron Blood Taoist said as he pressed forward. A strong immortal aura was emitted from his body. The South Pole Immortal Mansion was a legacy of the Immortal Tao. These two Taoists were both at the Greater Mastery Quasi-Sage realm. Don't even think about it. The Iron Blood Taoist's eyes were about to spit fire. These two fellas were truly despicable. He wanted nothing more than to tear them to pieces. These people were too despicable to trap him in this valley. These fellas were more like bandits than he was. Don't waste your breath on this fella. Just kill him. We have to quickly gather the jade pendants and leave this place. The other young Taoist said impatiently. The Mad Wolf and the other young Taoist nodded. Then, the three experts rushed towards the Iron Blood Taoist together. There was no way the Iron Blood Taoist could fight against the three of them. Preposterous. Just as the Iron Blood Taoist was about to use a secret technique to perish together with these people, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky above the valley. It was a young man dressed in black. The Iron Blood Taoist immediately sensed a familiar aura coming from above him. Boss, save me. The Iron Blood Taoist immediately shouted without thinking, Don't worry. Haha. Another one who's not afraid of death. We're in luck today. We got 2 jade pendants in one go. The Mad Wolf laughed. To him, the 2 jade pendants were already in his hands. However, the 2 successors of the South Pole Immortal Mansion were much more meticulous than the Mad Wolf. Since when did the Iron Blood Taoist become someone else's lackey? To be able to subdue someone like the Iron Blood Taoist, this young man in black was definitely not simple. Go to hell. The Berserk Wolf soared into the sky, raised his mace, and smashed it down on the black-robed young man. However, a scene that left everyone dumbfounded appeared. The black-robed young man merely extended his right hand and used it to directly grab the mace that was smashing down. What? Chapter 2006. Among the southern Bujo barbarians, there was an impressive figure. That person was like a wild beast and was extremely ferocious. Hence, he was called Mad Wolf. Mad Wolf was regarded by the barbarians as someone with the bloodline of the ancient barbarians. People like him were born with extraordinary strength. Even if he didn't cultivate the barbarian tribe's cultivation method, he could still tear lions and tigers apart. He was much stronger than the average barbarian. Moreover, the bloodline of the ancient barbarians had already awakened in Mad Wolf's body. His physical body was even more terrifying. He was much stronger than the average advanced stage sage. In the entire southern Bujo barbarian, even Zi Yunxiao wouldn't dare to take an attack from Mad Wolf with his bare hands. However, what shocked everyone was that someone actually took an attack from Mad Wolf with his bare hands. Furthermore, he grabbed Mad Wolf's mace with one hand. How is this possible? Even the 2 cultivators from the South Pole Immortal Abode were shocked. They couldn't speak for a long time. This scene left them dumbfounded. How could there be someone with such a strong physical body? Moreover, this person was a human. The physical body of humans was much weaker than that of demonic beasts. The barbarian tribe's physical body was publicly recognized as the strongest among the human race. Of course, some humans with special physiques would also have a terrifyingly strong physical body. Bam! The man in black exerted force with his right hand that grabbed the mace. The mace immediately flew up and smashed towards Mad Wolf. What? Mad Wolf was shocked. He exerted force with both hands, trying to control the mace. However, he only felt a huge force coming from the mace. His hands that were holding the mace immediately cracked, and blood seeped out. This force was so strong that he couldn't resist it. This shocked Mad Wolf to the extreme. Roar. With a roar, he channeled all his strength into his hands. Only then did the mace that was smashed back to him stop its momentum. At this moment, the mace was only a few inches away from Mad Wolf's head. He was almost hit by his own mace. This made him tremble in fear. However, at this moment, the black-clothed man had already arrived in front of Mad Wolf, and he threw a punch at Mad Wolf. Bam! Mad Wolf, together with his mace, was sent flying by the black-clothed man's punch. The violent force shook him so much that blood oozed out of his mouth and nose. The barbarian race's Mad Wolf was defeated just like that. The two experts from the South Pole Immortal Manor were dumbfounded. One must know that this barbarian was incomparably powerful. Even if the two of them joined forces, they would only be able to fight him to a draw. I didn't expect him to be this powerful. Even the Iron Blood Taoist was stunned by the battle prowess displayed by the man in black. This man was too strong, and he was probably invincible among those of the same level. The Iron Blood Taoist was well aware of how powerful the Mad Wolf was. The man in black who saved the Iron Blood Taoist was none other than Gu Fei. He just happened to pass by and sensed the aura of the Iron Blood Taoist, so he came over to take a look. However, he did not expect that the Iron Blood Taoist would actually be blocked by three fellows in the valley. After all, this Iron Blood Taoist was his subordinate. If he was killed, he would lose face. Moreover, these three fellows who blocked the Iron Blood Taoist didn't seem to be good people. Who are you? Could it be that you are? The two experts from the South Pole Immortal Manor were shocked when they saw Gu Fei's gaze sweeping over them. This guy was definitely a ruthless character. One of the two experts from the South Pole Immortal Manor seemed to have thought of something. His expression immediately turned ugly. Boss, the Iron Blood Taoist hurried over. If it weren't for Gu Fei, he would have executed a secret technique and perished together with the three chaos beasts. Unless it was absolutely necessary, no one would want to take this step. The Iron Blood Taoist did not want to die in this desolate little world just like that. Although this was only a competition, many cultivators had died in this desolate little world. There had always been casualties in the past competitions. Roar. At this moment, an angry roar was heard. The Mad Wolf who had been sent flying by Gu Fei charged over again. His murderous intent soared to the sky, and his eyes were bloodshot as if they were about to spit fire. If you want to die, I can grant your wish. Gu Fei looked indifferently at the ferocious man who was charging over. His face didn't reveal any expression. No one could see anything from his face. Boasting shamelessly. Die for this, daddy. The Mad Wolf seemed to have really gone mad. His aura was incomparably powerful. Terrifying energy erupted from his body. Ancient Tao runes appeared on the mace in his hand. These were the Tao runes of the barbarian race. This mace was a treasure of the barbarian race. After being refined by generations of barbarian experts, it had already become an item comparable to a saint tool. The Mad Wolf's crazed nature erupted. He directly swung the mace in his hand and smashed it down towards Gu Fei's head. This strike directly shattered the space below the mace, forming a destructive force that gushed towards Gu Fei. Bang! Gu Fei punched out again. Chaotic chi revolved around his fist. Boom! His fist directly broke through the mighty destructive power, and then smashed into the mace that was smashing down. The Mad Wolf only felt a surge of energy rushing towards him. He discovered that his entire body was sent flying, and the mace in his hand finally flew out of his hand. PFFF, Gu Fei punched out again. The powerful fist force caused the flying mad wolf to explode, turning his body into a mist of blood. A genius of the barbarian race was killed by a single punch from Gu Fei just like that. His body and soul were destroyed. This was the most thorough way to die. Even at the moment of his death, the mad wolf didn't know why he lost so thoroughly. He didn't even have the strength to retaliate against his opponent's fist, killing the mad wolf of the barbarian race with 2 punches. Everyone who saw this scene was stunned. Mad wolf died just like that. The voices of the 2 experts from the South Pole Immortal Manor were trembling. This man in black was too strong. He was so strong that he could easily kill a great perfection quasi-sage. At this moment, Gu Fei extended his right hand and made a grabbing motion in the air. A jade tablet flew out from the bloody mist that had yet to completely dissipate and landed in Gu Fei's hand. Gu Fei didn't let go of the mace either. He kept it. Everything on the mad wolf's body was destroyed by Gu Fei's punch. The only thing on the mad wolf's body that could catch Gu Fei's eye was the mace. He planned to give this weapon to Gu Zhong. Hand over the jade token and scram. Gu Fei didn't have time to talk nonsense with these 2 cultivators. If they didn't know what was good for them, he would have to kill them as well. The 2 experts from the South Pole Immortal Manor exchanged glances. Then, they took out their jade tokens and threw them to Gu Fei before turning to leave. After handing over their jade tokens, they would lose the right to enter the human race's ancient path. However, the 2 experts from the South Pole Immortal Manor didn't have much time to think. They could clearly sense the murderous intent on Gu Fei's body. If they said no, Imo Wuji would immediately attack them. Losing the right to enter the human race's ancient path wasn't a big deal. However, it wouldn't be worth it if they lost their lives because of this. One must know that only the living would have a future. Just like that, the jade tokens of the 2 experts from the South Pole Immortal Manor landed in Gu Fei's hands. As long as he collected 2 more jade tokens, he would be able to complete his mission. "Boss, let me follow by your side," the Iron Blood Taoist said. In this desolate little world, danger lurked everywhere. Even a great perfection quasi-sage would be in danger. If he followed by Gu Fei's side, he would definitely be in less danger. "Whatever," Gu Fei said. After that, he left the valley and headed towards the depths of this desolate little world. He could sense that there might be some unknown secrets hidden in the depths of this desolate little world. The Iron Blood Taoist followed Gu Fei. Along the way, they encountered quite a number of wild beasts, but they didn't see a single person. Although this desolate little world was called a little world, it was actually a vast, desolate little world. 500 experts entering this place were like 500 drops of water falling into the ocean. They simply couldn't cause any waves. Experts that were scattered all over the place really needed some luck to meet each other. On the 3rd day after entering the desolate little world, Gu Fei and the Iron Blood Taoist were already nearing the center of this little world. The spiritual energy here was much denser than other places. "Boss, why did we come here instead of searching for those people?" Ever since the Iron Blood Taoist saw Gu Fei kill the Mad Wolf with just 2 moves, he became extremely respectful toward Gu Fei. He didn't dare to be careless in the slightest. "Those people will definitely come here," Gu Fei said. He did not venture any deeper and instead found a peak in the nearby mountain range. Then, he sat down cross-legged on the peak and waited quietly. According to his estimations, the victors would definitely be filled with curiosity about the wildlands. These people would probably explore the depths of the wildlands. Even Gu Fei himself was very curious about this desolate little world. The Iron Blood Taoist also sat down cross-legged under an old pine tree on the peak. Sure enough, after just over 40 hours, Gu Fei sensed the aura of a cultivator passing by. He naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity to obtain a jade token. It was a white-robed young man. He looked very young, but who knew how long he had cultivated for? A cultivator's appearance didn't mean anything. The white-robed young man was shocked to see Gu Fei suddenly appear. "Hand over the jade token and scram." Gu Fei's words were very direct. He didn't want to waste time. "You." Chapter 2007. Currently, Gu Fei had already collected 3 jade tokens. As long as he obtained 2 more, he would be able to leave this desolate little world. He knew that some truly powerful people would not be able to leave this desolate little world so easily even if they had collected all the jade badges. One should know that this place was formed from a small fragment of the primordial chaotic world. Spiritual herbs that grew in the mountains were rare in the outside world. Moreover, there were other secrets in this desolate little world. For example, this kind of small fragment formed after the primordial chaos was shattered was not something that an ordinary person could refine into a little world. Everyone had their own curiosity. Immortals and gods were cultivated by humans. In essence, even the extreme supremes of the primordial era were humans. As expected, Gu Fei's guess was right. Soon enough, he intercepted a white-robed young man who was heading deeper into the little world. An unavoidable battle broke out because Gu Fei's words had completely enraged the white-robed young man. Any expert that could enter this little world was not simple. This white-robed young man was obviously from a superpower on the ancestral Bujo star. His powerful battle prowess was earth-shattering as he battled against Gu Fei. "Just who are you?" The white-robed young man became more shocked as the battle went on. This person that dared to stop him was truly powerful. How could such a person not have collected all 5 jade badges? "Fellow Taoist, I think you should hand over your jade badges." At this moment, the iron-blood Taoist arrived nearby and spoke to the white-robed young man. In his opinion, killing this young cultivator would be as easy as flipping his hand since he had killed the barbarian tribe's big boss with 2 punches. The reason why the big boss had yet to defeat this young man was most likely because he wanted to see what this young man was capable of. Preposterous. The young man was filled with anger. The iron-blood Taoist's words were a disgrace to him. The iron-blood Taoist actually told him to admit defeat and hand over the jade badges. If he were to do so, it would leave a shadow in his heart. He would not be able to maintain his pure Tao heart, and his cultivation would stagnate. "If you want my jade badges, you'll have to defeat me first," the white-robed young man roared. Today was truly an unlucky day. He never expected someone to rob him in this place. "Very good," Gu Fei said in an incomparably calm tone. Bang! The powerful fist force directly broke through the great technique that the white-robed young man had unleashed. After that, it smashed towards the white-robed young man's chest, causing the space around the fist to distort. "What?" The white-clothed youth was shocked. Ever since he started cultivating, he had experienced countless battles, but he had never met anyone who could break his immortal Tao Divine technique with their fists. 9 dragons haze heaven, the white-robed young man roared, and an extremely powerful wave of dragon chi erupted from his body. 9 dragon shadows rushed out from his body to meet Gu Fei's fist. At the same time, he quickly retreated. Boom! Gu Fei's fist fiercely smashed into the 9 dragon shadows that were rushing towards him, causing the 9 dragon shadows to collapse with a single punch. Although he had dispersed the 9 dragon shadows with a single punch, the power that erupted from the 9 dragon shadows had also successfully blocked his attack. Dragon Chi. Gu Fei was very surprised that the white-robed young man only revealed his true strength at this moment. It seemed that there were quite a number of truly capable people in Bujo Ancestral Star. As a human, you actually possess the strength of a true dragon. Could it be that you have the bloodline of the dragon race? Gu Fei couldn't help but be surprised. It wasn't that the human race and the dragon race couldn't give birth to descendants, but it wasn't that easy for the descendants of the 2 races to awaken the dragon race's bloodline. Clearly, this white-robed young man's background wasn't simple, because the dragon race's bloodline in his body had definitely awakened. Otherwise, there wouldn't be dragon chi appearing on his body. Only by cultivating the strength of a true dragon would this white-robed young man have dragon chi lingering around his body. What does this have to do with you? The white-robed young man looked at Gu Fei and said coldly. On his body, there was a faint shadow of a huge dragon, emitting a domineering dragon aura. "I have some friendship with the dragon clan. You can leave." Gu Fei glanced at the white-robed young man and waved his hand. He then turned around and walked towards the iron-blood Taoist, no longer attacking the white-robed young man. He and the old tortoise had a life-and-death friendship. Since this young man had dragon chi, he must be a descendant of the old tortoise's race. He was too embarrassed to attack this young man. At this point, It's not like you can stop fighting just because you say so. The white-robed young man seemed to be angered. He didn't care what kind of relationship Gu Fei had with the dragon race. It would be difficult for him to stop. He had never been ignored like this ever since he started his cultivation. My boss told you to leave. You've already gotten lucky. Why aren't you leaving? Are you tired of living? Iron Blood Taoist said. From his point of view, the fact that Gu Fei would let this young cultivator off was already a blessing in disguise. Yet, he still dared to squabble. And who are you? What rights do you have to speak? I can defeat someone like you with one hand. The young man glanced at the Iron Blood Taoist. His tone was as cold as ever, without a single trace of emotion. In his eyes, the Iron Blood Taoist could not even withstand a single blow. This time around, the Iron Blood Taoist was a little angry. He reminded this white-robed young man out of goodwill, but he didn't expect the young man to say something like this. Seems like you won't admit defeat until you learn a lesson. Gu Fei stopped and turned around. He said to the white-robed young man. Even though this young man was strong, Gu Fei didn't think that he would be able to take 10 moves from him. Although they were both at the peak of the quasi-sage stage, Gu Fei was much stronger than this white-robed young man. However, this white-robed young man was much stronger than the Iron Blood Taoist. If you've got what it takes, bring it on. The white-robed young man could sense an immense pressure from Gu Fei. This was because he was way too calm. The calmer he was, the more confident he was. To him, this was definitely not a good thing. As you wish. Gu Fei smiled. Suddenly, his figure turned blurry. At this moment, the white-robed young man's heart skipped a beat. All the pores on his body shrunk as his hair stood on end. This was the most direct reaction of a human when they felt extreme danger. It was like a cat that was startled. *T. Chapter 2008. Gu Fei's speed was simply too fast. He left behind an afterimage on the spot, and his real body had already arrived above the white-robed youth. He then stomped down on the youth's head. What? By the time the white-robed youth noticed Gu Fei's attack, Gu Fei's right foot was already about to land on his head. This caused the white-robed youth to panic. Swish. Without thinking, the white-robed youth's body fell straight down. Then, 2 golden rays of light rushed out from his hands, turning into 2 golden dragon claws that blocked upwards. Pong! Gu Fei's right foot stepped on the 2 golden dragon claws. The dragon claws formed from the power of the golden dragon immediately shattered, turning into spots of golden light that dissipated into the void. The power of his right foot did not decrease at all as it stepped on the white-robed youth's hands. Kacha! The sound of bones breaking could be heard. The white-robed youth screamed in pain as he was stomped down from the sky by Gu Fei. Pong! He crashed onto the ground. Everything happened too quickly. Even the Iron Blood Taoist was shocked. He did not expect Gu Fei to stomp this white-robed youth down from the sky with a thunderous move. Boss's strength. The Iron Blood Taoist was shocked. The strength displayed by Gu Fei was too shocking. A great completion quasi-sage that could dominate the world couldn't even withstand a single blow from him. Roar! The white-robed youth roared as he charged up from the ground. He was stomped down from the sky by Gu Fei just now. The bones in both of his arms were broken. The recovery rate of a great completion quasi-sage was still very abnormal. The bones in the white-robed youth's arms had already recovered in an instant. It was as though he had never been injured. At this moment, the white-robed youth's face alternated between red and white. He stared at Gu Fei, wanting to attack Gu Fei. However, he hesitated at the thought of Gu Fei's strength. Just now, the other party had shown mercy. If the other party had wanted to take his life, he would have broken more than just his 2 forearms. The white-clothed youth knew very well that the power of Gu Fei's kick was very terrifying. However, the power of his opponent's kick was not fully displayed. There was nothing more to say. Since he was no match for the other party, he could only hand over the jade tokens. Wasn't the other party intercepting him for the jade tokens? Although the other party had already told him to leave, it was only now that he was truly defeated by the other party that he realized how powerful and terrifying this person was. This is the jade token you wanted. The white-robed young man was very straightforward. He took out the jade token and threw it to Gu Fei along with his own jade token. Then, he turned around and left. There was such a person on the ancient path of the human race. He had no chance of becoming a sage. He might as well give up on this chance and save himself the trouble of dying on the ancient path. The white-robed young man left. Gu Fei and the others didn't even know his name. However, there were so many cultivators in the world that it wasn't necessary to know every single one of them. Gu Fei took the jade tokens and realized that the white-robed young man had collected a total of 12 jade tokens. This fella is way too ruthless. The Iron Blood Taoist was shocked when he saw the jade tokens in Gu Fei's hand. This white-robed young man had defeated at least 11 opponents to obtain a jade token. It's time to leave. Gu Fei was about to leave this desolate little world after obtaining what he wanted. However, just as he and the Iron Blood Taoist were about to crush the jade token, a strange ripple emerged from the depths of this world. Gu Fei's eyes lit up when he sensed the ripple. He quickly stopped and turned around to look at the depths of this world. Boss, what's wrong? Although the Iron Blood Taoist also sensed the ripple, he didn't know what was going on. When he saw the expression on Gu Fei's face, he knew that Gu Fei must know what was going on. Why would there be something like that here? Gu Fei ignored the Iron Blood Taoist and fell into deep thought. Was the desolate little world not under the control of the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion? If the savage small world was under the complete control of the Central Province Immortal Manor, how could that thing not have been taken away? This didn't make sense, because no one could resist the attraction of that thing. Meanwhile, the old abode master was extremely excited in the pavilion of the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion. The fruit of the immortal herb has ripened. Why does it have to be at this time? The Middle Continent Immortal Mansion had set up glowing stones in various places in the desolate little world. The glowing stones were a supplementary material for the mystic light technique. The old abode master could see the scenery in the desolate little world from the pavilion, and he could also sense the various auras of the place. This was one of the magical abilities of the mystic light stones. Not only could they display a person's voice and silhouette on the glowing mirror, but they could also transmit their auras, making it feel like they were there. This was also one of the methods the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion used to monitor the desolate little world. The old abode master had also seen the battle between Gu Fei and the white-robed youth. However, the depths of the desolate little world was also a forbidden area for the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion. It was filled with great danger, so the people of the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion wouldn't go near it. No one knew what was in the depths of the desolate little world. The Middle Continent Immortal Mansion had once suffered a great lesson. The people of the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion had once attacked the depths of the desolate little world in an attempt to gain complete control over it. However, the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion had suffered great losses in that battle. The people of the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion had once attacked the depths of the desolate little world in an attempt to gain complete control over it. However, the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion had suffered great losses in that battle. The Middle Continent Immortal Mansion had to recuperate for thousands of years before they could recover. And the reason why the Central Prefecture Immortal Manor spared no expense to attack the depths of the Wildlands Minor World was because of an immortal divine herb. For that immortal divine herb, the Central Prefecture Immortal Manor suffered heavy losses. The reason the Middle Continent Immortal Mansion had spared no effort to attack the depths of the desolate little world was because of the undying divine herb. The Middle Continent Immortal Mansion had suffered great losses for the undying divine herb. No one knew, because the undying divine herb had existed for too long. It was a lost period of time. I'll have to go and see for myself. The old abode master left the pavilion after saying that. Even he couldn't sit still when the undying divine herb's fruit had ripened. After all, that was the fruit of the undying divine herb. Chapter 2009. The immortal herb of immortality's fruit had ripened, and it just had to happen at this time, which made the Central Prefecture Immortal Manor feel helpless. One must know that there were hundreds of the most powerful cultivators in the entire Bujo ancestral planet in that little wildland. Although the Central Plains Immortal Mansion was a superpower, it was impossible for them to have hundreds of great perfection quasi-sages. These hundreds of great perfection quasi-sages were a huge variable. The desolate pocket world wasn't completely under the Central Plains Immortal Mansion's control. The central region of the desolate pocket world was an absolute forbidden zone. Even a self-sealed sage wouldn't be able to do anything about it. The immortal herb of immortality that the Central Plains Immortal Mansion had discovered was rooted in the central region of the desolate pocket world. It had never left that place. Although the immortal herb of immortality couldn't cultivate, it was still a spiritual object that could sense the dangers of the outside world. The Central Plains Immortal Mansion had been eyeing the immortal herb of immortality for thousands of years, but they had never seen any traces of it outside the central region of the desolate pocket world. The importance of the immortal herb of immortality was undeniable. This time, the old mansion master of the Central Plains Immortal Mansion personally led 18 of the strongest people in the mansion into the desolate pocket world. Among these 18 people, one of them was Wu Daoyi, who had been defeated by Gu Fei. The other 17 were peerless figures from the previous generation of the Central Plains Immortal Mansion. Although the 10 heroes of Central Plains were famous, only the 3 sons of Central Plains were qualified to enter the top 20 of the Central Plains Immortal Mansion. Apart from Wu Daoyi, the other 2 had already entered the desolate pocket world with the hundreds of great perfection quasi-sages to fight for the spot to enter the ancient path of the human race. Although the ancient path of the human race was important, the immortal herb of immortality was even more important to the Central Plains Immortal Mansion. Having the immortal herb of immortality was equivalent to having an extra life. This was especially so for a sage who had sealed himself like the old mansion master of Central Plains. After all, ordinary herbs had no effect on someone as powerful as a sage. Only the immortal herb of immortality could save a sage. At this moment, the air in the center of the entire wild small world was filled with traces of medicinal fragrance. It was a faint fragrance, but it had a magical effect that made people feel relaxed and happy. It really is an immortal godly herb. On top of a mountain peak, the black-robed Gu Fei sat cross-legged on a large boulder, smelling the fragrance in the air. His heart couldn't help but tremble. The wisp of fragrance in the void actually gave him a feeling of emptiness. This was a phenomenon that would only occur when one was cultivating and comprehending something. Just a whiff of the aroma could cause one to enter a state of enlightenment. If one were to consume the immortal spirit fruit produced by this immortal spirit herb, wouldn't they be able to directly become a saint? Gu Fei couldn't help but be overwhelmed with shock. This kind of immortal divine medicine was really too heaven-defying. Under the boulder stood the Iron Blood Taoist. At this moment, he was willing to be ordered around by Gu Fei, because Gu Fei had the right to submit to him. This boss of his was really unfathomable. He actually knew that the immortal spirit fruit had ripened and was waiting here. It was very difficult for the undying spiritual fruit to bear spirit fruits. Legend had it that in the ancient times, there was a female paragon who possessed an undying immortality peach tree. That undying immortality peach tree took 3,000 years to bloom, another 3,000 years to bear fruit, and another 3,000 years to mature. The immortal godly herb in the forbidden area ahead shouldn't be the immortal peach tree, because the immortal peaches produced by the immortal peach tree could only grant immortality. The immortal peaches of immortality would not allow one to enter a rare state of cultivation. Could it be the legendary Tao integration divine tree that could allow one to progress to the Tao integration stage? There were only a few stalks of immortal godly herbs in the world. They could grant immortality, but they couldn't cultivate. The immortal Tao integration divine tree could bear a Tao integration fruit. Although this Tao fusion fruit couldn't really allow one to become a sage after eating it, anyone who ate it was destined to become a sage. This was just a matter of time. The Tao integration fruit could allow one's body to become one with the Tao during cultivation. This was something that even a connate Tao embryo couldn't achieve. Merging with the Tao would allow one to comprehend the Tao. Once one comprehended their own Tao, they would be able to form 9 Tao patterns and pass the heavenly tribulation to become a supreme sage. If the Tao integration fruit produced by the immortal Tao integration divine tree was really ripe, Gu Fei would definitely fight for it. If he could get his hands on a Tao integration fruit, becoming a sage wouldn't be a problem anymore. Rumble. At this moment, 1,000 miles away from the mountain peak that Gu Fei was at, a series of tremors came from the sky. Then, the void collapsed, and a pitch-black hole appeared in the sky. Then, an overwhelming aura gushed out from the hole. A series of ancient chariots passed through the hole and entered this world. Humph! The middle continent immortal mansion really has other ways to enter this desolate little world. Gu Fei stood up from the boulder. With such a huge commotion, it was impossible for him not to notice it. A powerful force from the middle continent immortal mansion had entered the desolate little world. What are they? The iron-blood Taoist was shocked. He could feel the power of that force. Everything in the world was trembling. 19 powerful auras filled every inch of the void between the heaven and earth. These people must be here for the immortal medicine, Gu Fei said. The strength of the middle continent immortal mansion was truly strong. He could sense Wu Daoi's aura among the 19 powerful auras. However, Wu Daoi's aura was the weakest among the 19 auras. Wu Daoi, one of the 3 sons of the middle continent, was actually the weakest among them. This caused Gu Fei to be shocked, especially the aura of the person leading the group. It was the true sage aura that only a sage possessed. It was not the sage aura of a quasi-sage or a half-sage. Quasi-sages and half-sages only possessed some of the characteristics of a sage. Their auras were fundamentally different from the aura of a real sage. Even a sage who sealed himself is here. Gu Fei knew that the middle continent immortal mansion was determined to get their hands on the immortal medicine in the forbidden area. Moreover, this desolate little world was formed from a fragment of the ancient desolate world. He thought of a serious problem. Gu Fei did not move forward. He even brought the iron-blood Taoist and retreated far away. He wanted to observe the situation first. One should know that the forbidden area ahead was not a friendly place. The terrain of the central area of the desolate little world was very strange. In Gu Fei's opinion, such a terrain was definitely a place of great danger. There were probably terrifying existences residing there. Chapter 2010. It's that kid? The old master of the Central Plains Immortal Manor also noticed Gu Fei's group. After all, the old master was a saint who'd sealed his own sage cultivation. A self-sealed saint like him was still terrifyingly powerful despite his cultivation being sealed. Even a grand completion quasi-saint would be mercilessly slaughtered by such an existence. One must know that the old master's sage Dao cultivation had been sealed, but he still possessed the physical body of a sage. Even with the strength of a sage's physical body, a great accomplishment quasi-sage was no longer a match for him. The old master ignored Gu Fei and the iron-blood Taoist. After all, they'd risked their lives to enter the wildlands for the legendary fruit of convergence of the path's grand sovereigns on top of the 18 ancient chariots. There were 18 figures that emitted powerful auras like mountains. Each figure was like a god of war that came from ancient times. Only Wu Daoi, the weakest of them all, stood there without a chariot. The ancient chariots had survived the dark ages and were covered in scars left behind by swords, spears, swords, and halberds. Those qualified to stand atop the chariots were war gods who'd lived for countless years. They'd once followed the old master to conquer the world. If it wasn't for the fact that this matter was too important to the Central Plains Immortal Manor, the old master wouldn't have mobilized his forces. After all, there weren't many old men left who'd followed him to conquer the world. Some had died in battle, while others were crippled. It was rare for them to survive until now. Has the fruit of convergence of the paths really ripened? An aged voice asked in disbelief. It was an old war god with white hair and beard, clad in bronze armor. The fruit of convergence of the paths was a legendary item. The fragrance in the air. Someone sighed. The fragrance lingering in the air was so soothing that all the pores on one's body opened up, and the immortal Tao divine power within one's body circulated at a faster rate. It feels like ascending to heaven and attaining enlightenment, Wu Daoi said. Did the legendary fruit of convergence of the paths really have the miraculous effect of allowing one to fuse the Tao and become a saint? This shocked Wu Daoi to no end. Master, what should we do next? The 18 war gods followed the old prefecture lord's lead. They were the divine weapons of the old prefecture lord. Wherever the old prefecture lord pointed, they would attack without any hesitation. Wait, the old mansion master, who was also clad in armor, pondered for a moment before speaking. Following that, chariots descended from the sky and landed in a nearby valley. The Central Province Old Mansion Master and the others set up camp on the spot, then sent out people to investigate the situation in the surrounding area. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. The Old Manor Master and the others were very careful because they had fought against the terrifying existences in that forbidden area and suffered great losses. As time passed, the figures of other experts began to appear in the vicinity of the forbidden area. The fragrance of the matured immortal herbs could be smelled even from 10,000 miles away. After all, 500 of Buzhou Ancestral Star's strongest experts had come to the wildland's small world. Among them, there were many heaven-defying existences, and there were even descendants of supremes. Great ruler, the atmosphere in the vicinity of the forbidden area gradually became tense. The Middle Prefecture Immortal Mansion was the master of the wildland's small world. They knew very well that the news of the maturing immortal herbs could not be concealed. It should be noted that among the 500 experts, there were descendants of supremes. They definitely knew about the existence of the Daomerge fruit. The Daomerge fruit could help one comprehend the Tao. Anyone who had the ambition to become a saint would be envious of it. Soon, the news of the maturing Daomerge fruit spread throughout the wildland's small world. Everyone was excited as if they had been injected with stimulants. Is the legendary Daomerge fruit really in this small world? Some people doubted the authenticity of the news, but the refreshing fragrance lingering in the air could not be faked. The Daomerge fruit. As long as I can obtain it, there's hope for me to achieve the Tao. On a mountain peak outside the center of the wildland's small world stood a woman wearing a golden mask. Behind her stood a middle-aged man. I'll definitely snatch the Daomerge fruit for young lady, the middle-aged man said. Caution is the parent of safety. Let's wait and see, the woman said. She was the golden goddess of the gold family, and the middle-aged man was the golden goddess servant. Although this middle-aged man was just an unprepossessing servant, his cultivation base was extremely powerful. He was actually at the great accomplishment quasi-sage realm. In this Central Plains competition, a supreme lineage like the Gold family definitely wouldn't just send one or two people to participate. This time, there were quite a few people from the Gold family who came to participate as well. However, the competition this time was unprecedentedly intense. Even the Gold family had only sent 3 people to the wildland's small world. One of them was the cousin of the golden goddess. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Young lady is indeed smart, the middle-aged man said. At this moment, 2 people stood on a different mountain peak in another direction. It was a man and a woman. The man was extraordinarily handsome, while the woman was cute. These 2 people were Ziyun Xiao and Ziyun of the Ziyun family. I didn't expect an immortal divine herb like the Daomerge divine tree to exist in this wildland's small world. Ziyun Xiao came from the Ziyun family, so he naturally knew many secrets of the world. It should be known that the Ziyun supremacy had once obtained an immortal divine herb. Of course, the immortal divine herb that the Ziyun supremacy had obtained wasn't the Daomerge divine tree. Haha, as long as we obtain the Daomerge fruit, we will be able to become saints, Ziyun said with a smile. They didn't care about the ancient path of the human race or whatever, because their goal in taking the ancient path of the human race was to become saints. Since the Daomerge fruit could help people comprehend the Tao and become saints, why would they still need to take the extremely dangerous ancient path of the human race? That's right, we will definitely obtain the Daomerge fruit, Ziyun Xiao said in a deep voice. Ziyun Xiao said in a deep voice. 2 extremely sharp beams of light shot out of his eyes. The fusion path fruit was too important to them. Becoming a sage was their ultimate goal. At this time, there were also people from other forces in the vicinity, and even Buddhist experts appeared. On the ancestral star of Buzhou, there was also an orthodoxy passed down by the ancient Buddhist lord, the Eastern Holy Realm. It was the #1 force in the eastern region of the ancestral star of Buzhou. Some people said that the Eastern Holy Buddha of the Eastern Holy Realm was also a saint who had sealed his saint cultivation. In the Buddhist sects, a Buddhist monk with such a cultivation was called a Holy Buddha. For several days in a row, there was a dark storm outside the central region of the wildland's small world. Some people began to form alliances, some tried to persuade the various forces, and some even came to persuade Gu Fei to join their camp. A storm was brewing, and everyone felt extremely oppressed. Chapter 2011. The atmosphere in the desolate minor world was very stifling, as though a storm was brewing. Gu Fei knew that the calm on the surface would soon be broken. There was a limit to how long the undying divine medicine could take to ripen. After several days, the fragrance from the forbidden area grew stronger and stronger. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. The stronger the fragrance, the more beneficial it was for cultivation. Many people seemed to feel that their cultivation had improved a little in the past few days. The miraculous effects of the immortal godly medicine could indeed make people go crazy. After a few more days, a strange fluctuation spread out from the forbidden area. The ruler of the forbidden area could no longer sit still. He seemed to be making a move. Are they finally going to make a move? In a valley only a few hundred li away from the forbidden area, inside a large tent, an old man clad in battle armor stood up. His eyes gleamed with sharpness like the edge of a blade. It was early in the morning. There was no sun or constellation in the desolate minor world, but day and night alternated. This part of the world began to light up. After that, 19 war chariots rushed out from the valley, emitting a heart-palpitating killing intent. The 19 war chariots gathered together, forming a heaven-shaking killing intent. This killing intent was so strong that it caused this part of the world to lose its color, and all living things in the world trembled. This heaven-shaking killing intent alarmed everyone. Those who could enter this part of the world were all incomparably astute. No one wanted to be the first to make a move. Many people were watching, and many people could already tell that the place where the undying divine medicine was located was a forbidden area. Even the old manor lord of the central province was watching. From this, one could tell that there was definitely a great danger in the forbidden area. Rumble. The 19 ancient war chariots were like 18 primordial divine mountains, crushing down from the sky, causing the void to tremble and shaking all directions. That powerful pressure almost suffocated everyone. When the auras of these 19 war gods fused together, it was truly too powerful. Perhaps even a saint who had sealed himself wouldn't be able to surpass them. Behind the 19 war chariots, there were more than 10 white-robed cultivators. The 3 sons of the central province are over there. Someone recognized the 3 supreme experts from the central prefecture Immortal Manor. The 3 sons of the central prefecture were all rising stars of the younger generation, but each of them were already so powerful that they could contend against those famous characters of the older generation. Among the 10 great heroes of the central state, only the 3 sons of the central state were worthy of the title of Peerless Master. It wasn't that the other 7 heroes weren't strong, but compared to the 3 sons of the central prefecture, they were far inferior. Their cultivation and battle strength couldn't be compared to the 3 sons of the central prefecture. Is this the strength of the middle province Immortal Mansion? Someone exclaimed in surprise. The foundation of the central prefecture Immortal Abode was truly powerful. Although there had long been rumors that there was a self-sealed saint in the central prefecture Immortal Abode. However, when he actually saw the saint of the middle state Immortal Mansion who had sealed himself, it was completely different from what he had heard. It's starting. On a mountain peak thousands of miles away from the Forbidden Zone, Gu Fei, who was sitting cross-legged on a boulder, opened his eyes. At the same time, Iron Blood Taoist, who was sitting beside the boulder, also stood up. Roar. Just as the old sect master of the central prefecture Immortal Mansion led a group of experts in a war chariot and charged into the Forbidden Zone ahead, an earth-shattering roar rang out from the depths of the Forbidden Zone. Humans, you've gone too far. A powerful divine sense rippled out from the depths of the Forbidden Zone. Then, the people outside the Forbidden Zone could faintly see a huge silhouette looming in the depths of the Forbidden Zone. Hand over the divine medicine of immortality, and we will naturally retreat. An ancient voice rang out. The old sect master of the central prefecture was extremely domineering. Even when facing the lord of the Forbidden Zone, he still pressed forward. Everyone outside the Forbidden Zone was shaken. As expected, there was a great ferocious beast in the Forbidden Zone. This ferocious beast didn't seem to fear the self-sealed saint at all. "It's you again. Was the lesson last time not deep enough?" The divine sense of the Lord of the Forbidden Zone swept out in all directions, enveloping a radius of 10,000 miles. The voice of the Lord of the Forbidden Zone rang out in everyone's hearts. "Oomph! New grudges and old grudges. Let us settle them today." Rays of divine light began to shine from the central province old prefecture lord's body. Mysterious and unfathomable Tao patterns rushed out from his body before dissipating into the void. The true power of the divine path began to awaken on the body of the old sect master. The might of the saint shook the heavens, causing countless living beings to tremble. This was a fear that originated from the depths of their souls. "You actually dared to lift the seal?" The Lord of the Forbidden Zone was clearly shocked. One should know that even in this wild little world, no one would take such a huge risk. One should know that once the seal was lifted, it would mean death. "Oomph! You think too highly of yourself. I only need to lift a few seals and recover 30 or 40% of my cultivation. That should be enough to destroy you." The old sect master stood on the chariot. His white hair fluttered despite the absence of wind. As the divine Tao patterns rushed out from his body, they dissipated into the void. The true power of the divine path rapidly recovered on his body. At this time, the people behind the old sect master quickly retreated. The 18 old gods of war dispersed on their chariots. Ancient Tao patterns appeared on every chariot. Those Tao patterns rushed out from the chariots and interweaved into a formation diagram in the air. The ancient formation diagram gave off a terrifying ripple. In an instant, this formation diagram connected the power of the 18 old gods of war together. This was not as simple as 1 plus 1. The ancient formation diagram had increased the power of the 18 old gods of war to a level that even great completion quasi-sages would have to look up to. When the 18 powers fused together, even a self-sealed sage would be moved. Is this the immortal venerate battle formation of the middle ground immortal manor? On a mountain outside the Forbidden Zone, Ziyun Shao and his sister observed. The battle formation displayed by the 18 old gods of war of the middle ground immortal manor was truly extraordinary. This kind of ancient battle formation should be the legendary immortal venerate battle formation. The middle ground immortal manor had once produced an immortal venerate. Of course, this was in ancient times. In the current era, not to mention an immortal venerate, even sages were extinct. In those ancient times, the ancestral star of Buzhou was constantly at war. The immortal venerate of the middle ground immortal manor had created a formation diagram. This formation diagram could only be operated by 18 powerful cultivators. The immortal venerate battle formation was extremely powerful. Although the 18 old gods of war were not sages, the power gathered by the formation diagram was comparable to that of a sage. All the cultivators outside the Forbidden Zone were incomparably shocked. Apart from some powerhouses that came from ancient forces, not many people knew the origin of this battle formation diagram. Humph. Looks like the old guys from the middle ground immortal manor are going all out. No one dared to enter because the 18 old war gods were still guarding it. The immortal venerable battle formation was still in operation. A gigantic illusory figure stood between heaven and earth. The phantom condensed from the immortal venerate battle formation gave off a great oppressive feeling, as though there was a real sage standing there. The 18 old war gods didn't make a move. Behind them were 13 white-robed disciples. These 13 young experts didn't show any signs of making a move either. Terrifying energy gushed out. The immortal venerable battle diagram froze the space in front of them, protecting the 18 old war gods, as well as the 13 experts from the central province immortal manor. A battle between sages. Gufei didn't make a move either. People who couldn't control themselves would often put themselves in danger. Now wasn't the time to make a move. Gufei wasn't the only one who had such thoughts. Most of the people were thinking the same. However, there were some people who couldn't resist the allure of the undying god medicine. They wanted to take advantage of the battle between the Old Manor Lord and the Lord of the Forbidden Zone to fish in troubled waters. Arg! A tragic cry rang out. One of the unlucky cultivators was ripped apart by the spatial cracks that came from the depths of the Forbidden Zone. He was then devoured by the spatial cracks. Even someone as strong as a great perfection quasi-sage couldn't defend against the destructive power of the spatial cracks. That cultivator's body and soul were destroyed instantly. He couldn't be any more dead. Looking at this scene, all the cultivators who had entered the Forbidden Zone were shocked. This place was way too dangerous. Even a great perfection quasi-sage could fall if they were to encounter any danger here. Roar! A furious roar came from the depths of the Forbidden Zone. That was the voice of the Lord of the Forbidden Zone. This roar shook the heavens and the earth, causing a few great perfection quasi-sages to fall from the sky. A single roar from a great perfection quasi-sage was truly terrifying. Even the cultivators outside the Forbidden Zone were shaken by this roar. Some of the cultivators who were closer even started bleeding from their ears. So scary, many cultivators hurriedly retreated into the distance. A battle of this level was way too horrifying. Even a great perfection quasi-sage would die if they were to head in. There was no way they could interfere at all. Other than some of the heaven-defying existences, all the other cultivators retreated thousands of miles away, not daring to get too close to the Forbidden Zone. Children, kill them all. Kill every single one of these humans. Don't leave a single one alive. The voice of the Lord of the Forbidden Zone rang out. Thereafter, a series of powerful auras appeared between the heaven and earth. Instantly, a chilling wind blew within the Forbidden Zone as malevolent beasts dashed out one after another. Roar! The roars of the beasts reverberated through the heaven and earth. One of them was a ferocious tiger with a pair of wings on its back and a single horn on its forehead. This was a mutated beast of desolation, the Qiongqi beast. That Qiongqi beast leaped up and pounced towards the immortal reverent battle formation laid out by the 18 war gods in an extremely ferocious manner. The Qiongqi beast of desolation was incomparably strong. The might of this single pounce caused the void below to collapse, turning into a destructive force that swept towards the battle formation laid out by the 18 war gods. Boom! A loud sound rang out. That Qiongqi beast relied on its powerful innate skills to clash head-on with the immortal reverent battle formation. The illusory Tao body that appeared above the immortal reverent battle formation dissipated, and the Qiongqi beast was sent flying by the force of the immortal reverent battle formation. And at this moment, countless beasts rushed out from the depths of the Forbidden Zone, pouncing towards the cultivators outside the Forbidden Zone. For a moment, the entire region was in chaos. Vile beast! The mountain peak where Gu Fei was at wasn't safe either. To think that a ferocious snake had its eyes on them. This was a ferocious snake that was hundreds of feet long, emitting a violent aura. Huuu. Before the ferocious snake could reach them, it opened its mouth and spat out a black mist. This black mist instantly enveloped the mountain peak where Gu Fei was at. This was a poisonous mist cultivated by the ferocious snake. As the poisonous mist was spat out, all the plants on the mountain peak began to lose their vitality rapidly, turning yellow. Gu Fei's body emitted chaotic divine light, blocking all the black mist that was rushing towards him. He punched out and the ferocious snake was smashed into countless pieces, falling down from the sky. At this time, it was impossible for them to take advantage of the situation. Countless ferocious beasts were pouncing towards the human cultivators. Chapter 2013. The ruler of the Forbidden Zone had countless ferocious beasts under his command. These ferocious beasts were all desolate beasts that had been subdued by the ruler of the Forbidden Zone, becoming a powerful force under his command. Ferocious auras filled the air in the Forbidden Zone. Shadows of terrifying beasts could be seen. These were the strongest ferocious beasts under the ruler of the Forbidden Zone. Roar! The ferocious beasts roared, their voices shaking the heavens and earth. Everyone's expressions changed. No one would have thought that there would be so many ferocious beasts in the Forbidden Zone. Some people immediately retreated far away. What a joke. If these ferocious beasts all rushed out, who could stop them? At this time, the Qiongqi ferocious beast had already clashed with the 18 old war gods of the Central Plains. It was barely able to resist the 18 old war gods. What a vile beast! One of the old war gods roared. The immortal sovereign's battle formation was changing. The immortal sovereign's Dao body was faintly discernible, sending the legendary primordial ferocious beast flying again and again. The primordial ferocious beast was indeed worthy of its reputation. The Qiongqi's physical body was extremely tough. Even the power of the immortal sovereign's battle formation was unable to cause any damage to it. However, the immortal sovereign battle formation of the Central Plains was also extraordinary. After the battle formation was activated to a certain extent, the immortal sovereign's Dao body condensed from the battle formation gradually became clearer. The battle formation had successfully condensed the power of an immortal sovereign. The illusory Dao body emitted a powerful aura that looked down on the world. The hazy Dao body held a disc-like artifact in its hand. Although it was just standing there quietly, the aura it emitted seemed even more terrifying than the two true saint auras that erupted from the depths of the Forbidden Zone. Roar! The Qiongqi roared. The immortal sovereign's Dao body made it feel very uneasy. And just at that moment, yet another primordial beast charged over. This was a god elephant. This god elephant's entire body was covered in brown fur, and it was over 100 feet tall. With a single roar, it could cause the mountains to tremble. The 18 old war gods of the Central Province Immortal Manor were shocked. This black elephant was not ordinary. It was an ancient, desolate beast. Its brute strength had reached an unimaginable level. In ancient times, the power of dragons and elephants was synonymous with power. The divine elephant directly rushed towards the immortal sovereign's battle formation. Its four hooves stomped on the void, its ferocious aura sweeping out in all directions. Defend, defend, defend. The 18 war gods in the immortal Venerable battle formation were incomparably nervous. This divine elephant was different from the Qiongqi ferocious beast. If they were hit by this divine elephant, even an immemorial divine mountain would be smashed into pieces. Buzz. The void trembled. Under the control of the 18 old war gods, the Dao patterns that formed the immortal battle formation immediately emitted a dazzling divine light. Spiritual energy from all directions crazily gathered. The celestial sovereign's body immediately became clear, as if it was going to walk out from the void. The aura of the celestial Dao spread out in all directions, as if the entire world was going to collapse from the pressure of this phantom. This supreme pressure caused everyone's expressions to change. Even Gu Fei couldn't help but be moved. This type of battle formation was truly powerful, drawing over the power of an immortal Venerable. If this battle formation could be activated to the extreme, wouldn't it be equivalent to an ancient immortal Venerable taking action? Boom! The huge figure, holding a disc-shaped ritual implement, rushed towards the divine elephant that was charging over. The two collided in an instant, causing a loud sound to erupt. The instant the two of them collided, the entire world violently trembled. Then, with the two of them as the center, ripples visible to the naked eye rapidly spread outwards. Wherever this transparent ripple passed, the void began to collapse and be annihilated. Other than the 13 white-robed disciples of the Middle State Immortal Manor who were enveloped by the immortal Venerable battle formation, the area within a radius of several thousand zhang became a land of death. Everything was directly destroyed. Some unlucky cultivators didn't even have the time to scream before they were annihilated in this wave of destruction. Their bodies and souls were directly destroyed, and their belongings were also turned into flying ashes. That Qiongqi ferocious beast saw that the situation was not good, and had already retreated 1,000 li away, avoiding this terrifying wave of destruction. Under the impact of the powerful force, the entire immortal Venerable battle formation was actually knocked out of the restricted area. The 18 old war gods suffered a great impact, and some of them even had blood seeping out from the corner of their mouths. One of the 13 white-robed disciples of the Middle State Immortal Manor immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression was extremely haggard, as if he had been injured by a heavy blow. Although the immortal Venerable's Tao body had blocked the force of the black divine elephant's charge, the force of the impact was simply too great. Even a greater perfection sage to be was affected by it. Even the three sons of the middle state were not spared and suffered a great impact. The black divine elephant didn't have it easy either. Its huge body that was like a small mountain was sent flying thousands of zhang away, crashing into the depths of the restricted area. At this time, none of the cultivators were spared. There were simply too many ferocious beasts charging out of the restricted area, and the hundreds of human cultivators were in danger of being drowned by the beast tide. However, these hundreds of human cultivators were the most powerful cultivators on Buzhou ancestral planet. They were existences that stood at the forefront of the cultivation world of Buzhou ancestral planet. Even a superforce like the middle state immortal manor would find it difficult to deal with such a force, let alone the experts from the sovereign clans among them. Primordial spirit transformation, immeasurable clone. A loud roar rang out from a valley. Then, the entire valley was suddenly filled with densely packed figures as a powerful immortal energy spread out. Roar. There were ferocious beasts roaring in the valley. The powerful beasts had sensed danger and wanted to charge out of the valley, but the valley was soon silenced by the attacks of the countless figures. Whoosh! The countless figures suddenly disappeared. Then, a young man wearing green clothes and carrying an ancient sword on his back walked out of the valley. The pungent smell of blood lingered in the valley. The corpses of hundreds of ferocious beasts were lying on the rocks. They had been killed on the spot. In other places, there were also human experts making their moves. Their shocking killing intent caused the sky to change color. These people were the strongest of the strongest, and they were unstoppable as they reaped the lives of the ferocious beasts. However, there were also many cultivators who couldn't defeat the powerful ferocious beasts and died under their sharp claws. Q. A huge bird that looked like a peacock stood on a mountain peak. It opened its mouth and inhaled. Immediately, a few figures flew over from the distance and were swallowed by the bird. Legend has it that before the Buddhist Lord achieved the Tao, he was cultivating at the peak of a snowy mountain and was swallowed by a divine bird. Could this be the divine bird that can swallow people from 1,000 miles away? Chapter 2014. Even Gu Fei couldn't help feeling apprehensive when a ferocious bird that could swallow people from 1,000 miles away flew towards him. It had to be known that this ferocious bird had just swallowed several grand perfection quasi-saints into its stomach. This ferocious bird was definitely one of the most powerful primordial beasts in the Forbidden Zone. In ancient times, there was a peacock divine beast that swallowed the 1,000-year-old Buddhist lord who was cultivating on a snowy mountain. Although this bird wasn't the peacock divine beast, it definitely had the bloodline of the peacock race running through its veins. Gu Fei realized that the appearance of this ferocious bird was somewhat similar to the legendary peacock divine beast that had swallowed a Buddhist lord. Whoosh! The ferocious bird opened its mouth again and sucked in. Although they were hundreds of miles away, a powerful suction force instantly enveloped Gu Fei and the Iron-Blood Taoist. Then, the two of them flew forward. What? Gu Fei was both shocked and furious. This ferocious bird was too despicable. It thought that he was as easy to bully as a great perfection quasi-sage and swallowed him in one gulp. Boss! The Iron-Blood Taoist was enveloped by the suction force and couldn't help but turn pale with fright. He tried his best to break free from the suction force, but it was all in vain. This suction force was too powerful. Even an existence like the Iron-Blood Taoist couldn't resist after being enveloped by this suction force. I'll let you swallow. Gu Fei punched forward. The powerful fist energy directly broke through the suction force and bombarded the ferocious bird on the mountain. Although the powerful fist energy hadn't surged, the mountain in front of Gu Fei's fist was already shaking. The ferocious bird's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. It didn't expect this human to be able to break through its suction force. Swish! The ferocious bird spread its wings and soared into the sky. Boom! At the moment when the ferocious bird soared into the sky, the mountain below it exploded. Gu Fei had destroyed a mountain with a single punch, causing dust to soar into the sky. Countless sand, stones, and mud splattered everywhere, covering a radius of several hundred miles. Many of the cultivators who were in the midst of fighting the wild beasts were affected by the shock waves. They cried out in shock and retreated far away. Many unlucky wild beasts were struck by the flying stones and were instantly smashed into a bloody pulp, dying on the spot. The power of Gu Fei's punch was terrifying. Which Gu Fei is it? Gu Fei blew up a huge mountain with a single punch. The commotion he caused was too great, startling everyone. Someone recognized him and cried out in alarm. The skills of the bird were not to be underestimated. Among all the wild beasts, only a few were qualified to be its opponent. But now, it couldn't even take care of a puny human. This made it feel ashamed. The other beasts would definitely laugh at it. Even though the primordial era's savage beasts only appeared in their true forms, given their cultivation, they were capable of changing their forms at will. They could even take on the form of humans. The 9 swords were vibrating as if they could be blown away by the opponent's fist at any time. The bird was extremely shocked. Ever since it cultivated its skills, no human had been able to shake it. Once the 5-element sword was used, it would definitely be returned with blood. Break! Gu Fei's eyes widened. With a roar, an even more powerful force rushed out of his dantian and rushed to his right arm. Bang! The power in Gu Fei's right fist exploded. Without any suspense, the 9 5-elements magical swords were directly sent flying by the force of the fist. How is this possible? The bird was shocked. It used its Xian technique, and the 9 swords that were blown away by Gu Fei's fist flew back. At this moment, Gu Fei's fist arrived. The power that was emitted from Gu Fei's fist crushed the sky. How is this human so strong? Chapter 2015. Bang! Gu Fei punched out, and the bird was immediately blown thousands of meters away. 5 colored feathers fell from the sky. The bird screeched and immediately turned into a 5-colored beam of light, rushing back from afar. Gu Fei had angered the bird. Clang! 9 beams of 5-colored divine light turned into startling rainbows and rushed out from the bird's body, piercing toward Gu Fei. They were like 9 heavenly swords that gathered the power of the 5 elements in the world. Each beam of divine light could pierce through the world. The destructive power spread in all directions. The cultivators and beasts nearby were shocked. They felt the danger and retreated in panic. Some people recognized Gu Fei and didn't dare to approach him. Human, you are very strong, but you have angered me. The bird's voice rang in Gu Fei's mind. This was a spiritual communication without any language barriers. This kind of communication was very common in the ancient times. Even in the present world, most cultivators still use this method of communication. What a joke. Do you think I should just stand here and let you eat me? Gu Fei sneered and said disdainfully. This was no longer the ancient times. This bird was not its ancestor, the peacock. Today, the human race was the ruler. The bird was enraged. It didn't say anything else. At this moment, the 9 beams of light had already arrived in front of Gu Fei. The powerful waves of energy tore the space in front of him into pieces. Roar! Gu Fei roared furiously at the sky. He did not dodge, and an unbelievably powerful chaotic true force erupted from his body. A layer of chaotic chi aura appeared on his body. Boom! The 9 streaks of 5-elemental essence energy collided with the layer of primal energy around Gu Fei's body, and the 5-colored divine radiance immediately engulfed him. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. Was this guy crazy? He actually dared to use his physical body to resist the ancient bird's 5 elements sacred art. This was simply courting death. This ancient bird could devour ordinary great completion quasi-sages as easily as crushing an ant. Although Gu Fei had defeated Zi Yunxiao before, he might not be able to use his physical body to resist the ancient bird's attack. Boss! Seeing this, the Iron Blood Taoist was terrified. If Gu Fei were to be killed by this ferocious bird, it would be difficult for him to move an inch in this desolate little world. The Iron Blood Taoist was very clear of his cultivation and strength. If he met an ordinary great completion quasi-sage, he would be fine. However, if he met a great completion quasi-sage like Ziyun Xiao, he would be in deep trouble. Boss, please be all right. The Iron Blood Taoist was worried about Gu Fei's safety. He knew that as long as he followed Gu Fei, he would gain some benefits. At the very least, others would have some reservations if they wanted to attack him. Rumble. The 9 streams of 5 elements sacred light exploded continuously. The destructive power of the 5 elements engulfed the void within a radius of thousands of feet. The void was destroyed as the 5 elements sacred light destroyed everything. This was the terror of the ancient bird that possessed the bloodline of the ancient, desolate divine beast, the peacock. Humph, killing you just like that would be letting you off easy. The ancient bird was filled with hatred. How dare this puny human offend him? He deserved to die. In the ancient times, the human race was incomparably weak. The powerful beasts were high and mighty. In the ancient desolate world, the human race was not the ruler of the world. They could only be enslaved by the powerful beings. However, it was different now. The human race had been through the baptism of countless years and managed to survive tenaciously. On the other hand, the powerful races in the ancient, desolate world had disappeared in the long river of time. The primordial ferocious bird still maintained the arrogant attitude it had in ancient times. Although the human race had become much stronger in its eyes, in this small savage world, the primordial beasts were still the rulers. Kill. Just when everyone thought that it was impossible for Gu Fei to escape, a furious roar rang out from the shattered space. Subsequently, a figure broke through the chaotic space and charged out. Swoosh. A purple sword shadow shot out from between Gu Fei's eyebrows and instantly pierced through the ancient bird's head. The ancient bird's head exploded, turning into a cloud of blood mist. Everything happened too fast. It was so fast that even when the ancient bird's head exploded into a mist of blood, everyone still had no time to react. A bird with the bloodline of the peacock had died just like that. Its 5-colored headless body fell from the sky. Strands of 5 elements sacred qi flowed out of its body. This was the 5 elements sacred qi that the bird had cultivated for countless years. As long as the bird was alive, the 5 elements sacred qi would never leak out. The 5 elemental essence began to seep out of the bird's corpse, which indirectly meant that the bird had been killed by Gu Fei in an instant. It should be known that even if the bird's body was destroyed, the 5 elemental essence would not leak as long as its soul was not destroyed. Dead. It was killed just like that. Everyone who saw this scene was shocked. One must know that this was a bird that could easily devour a great perfection quasi-sage. Yet, it was killed just like that. This made the cultivators feel that the scene before them was unreal. Swoosh. Just as the bird's headless body fell from the sky, a figure suddenly rushed over from afar. That person stretched out his hand and took the bird's body away. Who was this person? How dare she steal something from this god of death? Everyone was shocked. They saw that this person was a little girl wearing purple clothes. This little girl was filled with spirituality, especially her big eyes, which were full of spirit. This thing is useful to me. How about giving it to me? The little girl smiled at Gu Fei. Oomph, you know your stuff. Gu Fei chuckled. However, he had no intention of attacking the little girl. This little girl in purple robes was Zi Yunxiao's younger sister, Zi Yuner. Even though 10 years had passed, Zi Yuner was like a fairy that would never grow up. In these 10 years, her appearance and height had not changed at all. Could there really be such a body in this world? Gu Fei looked at Zi Yuner and thought of something else. At this point in time, the army of beasts still had the upper hand. There were too few cultivators of the human race. Compared to the countless number of beasts, it was hard for the human race to turn the tables. However, after Gu Fei killed the 5 elements sacred bird, the strength of the entire army of beasts was reduced significantly. Kill. Just then, an angry roar came from afar. High up in the sky, a formation diagram could be vaguely seen. 2 terrifying beasts were attacking the formation together. The 18 old gods of war roared in unison. Their killing intent was terrifying. The immortal reverent Tao body displayed a tremendous amount of power and managed to defend against the attacks of the two ancient beasts. Chapter 2016. Roar. The roar of the savage beast shook the heavens and earth. The winged Qiongqi's speed was extremely fast. As it flapped its wings, invisible wind blades slashed out. Buzz. Countless wind blades slashed on the grand formation, causing the grand formation to let out a buzzing sound. Countless formation runes appeared, condensing the power of the immortal Tao, blocking all these invisible attacks. Qiongqi was an ancient beast that was most proficient in using the power of the wind between the heavens and earth. This power was invisible and traceless, making it impossible for one to defend against it. Moreover, its speed was a huge threat to the 18 old war gods. As for the other savage beast, it possessed an extremely tyrannical strength. That was the power of the divine elephant of the dragon elephant. That black divine elephant charged forward. Although it didn't display too many mystic arts, its elephant strength was so great that it could almost break through all mystic arts. Boom! The black elephant charged towards the immortal Venerable killing formation. Like a black mountain, it charged over crazily and crashed into the immortal Venerable killing formation. The entire killing formation shook. The force of the collision caused countless Tao runes to dissipate in the void. The immortal Venerable Tao body turned blurry, as if it was about to dissipate in the void. Within the killing formation, one could see ripples of space with the naked eye. These ripples were formed by the power of vibration. These ripples passed through the killing formation and into the killing formation. Blood seeped out from the corner of the mouths of the 18 old war gods standing on the ancient war chariots. The 13 white-robed disciples of the middle state immortal mansion, who were protected by the killing formation, were in an even worse state. Some of them even fainted. Even the strongest of the 13 white-robed disciples, the 3 sons of the middle state, had blood seeping out from their mouths and noses. At this time, he couldn't do anything. He was in a very awkward situation. From the start, they were protected by the immortal reverent killing formation. From the start, they were protected by the immortal venerable killing formation. At this moment, if they lost the protection of the immortal venerable killing formation, they would be slaughtered by these 2 heaven-defying primordial beasts without any suspense. Even though these 2 savage beasts were not saint beasts, their physical bodies and strength were extremely powerful. They were only half a step away from becoming saint beasts. Such an existence was much more powerful than a great completion sage to be. One should know that the physical body and strength of beasts were naturally stronger than that of humans. Even if humans could become stronger through cultivation, they would still be much weaker than savage beasts of the same level. Moreover, these 2 primeval beasts were primeval beasts that had existed since the primeval age. The bodies of these primordial beasts were many times stronger than ordinary savage beasts. Even a true saint weapon would find it difficult to break through their defenses if it was not fully awakened. Once a savage beast was tamed, it would become the most terrifying killing tool in the world. The Black Fiend Divine Elephant was the main attacker. The Divine Elephant seemed to have gone mad as it slammed into the Immortal Supremacy killing array again and again. The power of the Immortal Supremacy killing array could only injure it, but it could not kill it. On the other hand, the Qiongqi was very smart. It was only assisting the Black Fiend Divine Elephant in attacking. Its power of wind could help the Black Fiend Divine Elephant offset a portion of the power of the killing array. In this way, the damage that the Immortal Supremacy killing array could do to the Black Fiend Divine Elephant was minimized. The battle fell into a stalemate. The 2 savage beasts could not break the Immortal Supremacy killing array, and the 18 old war gods could not activate the Immortal Supremacy killing array to eliminate the 2 savage beasts. Since we have already killed an ancient savage beast and sowed great enmity with the existence in the Forbidden Zone, let's fight to our heart's content. Gu Fei stood in the void and watched as the human cultivators suffered a one-sided defeat. The battle blood in his body could not help but boil as a shocking battle intent rushed out of his body. Kill! Gu Fei charged towards the 2 savage beasts that were attacking the Immortal Supremacy battle array. Great palm covers the sky. Gu Fei struck out with his palm, and a large chaotic palm immediately appeared in the void. It emitted a terrifying energy wave and slammed towards the hill-sized black fiend divine elephant. Rumble. The powerful martial arts force caused the void in front of the chaotic palm to shatter and annihilate. The terrifying force made the black fiend divine elephant feel threatened. The black fiend divine elephant roared and directly charged towards Gu Fei. Its black body was surrounded by murderous aura. This kind of murderous aura was almost tangible and could be vaguely seen with the naked eye. How many living beings did it have to kill to condense such murderous aura? Boom. The huge primal chaos hand slammed down on the black malevolent divine elephant, and the powerful force directly smashed the primitive savage beast into the shattered void. Swoosh. At the same time, Gu Fei appeared above Qiongqi in a flash. Qiongqi was taken aback. It never expected Gu Fei's speed to be so fast. While it was shocked, it flapped its wings and rushed forward like lightning. Bam! A muffled sound was heard. Qiongqi hurriedly turned around and saw that the human had actually stepped on the ground, creating a pitch-black hole in the space where it was originally standing. Qiongqi was shocked once again. The force of this human's step was so strong that it could step through the void. Could it be that this human's physical body was so strong that it could go against that stupid elephant? At this moment, Gu Fei's figure suddenly disappeared. Qiongqi felt a great danger. Without thinking, it executed its movement technique and dodged. Just as Qiongqi charged out, Gu Fei's figure abruptly appeared at its original location. Following that, his figure turned blurry and disappeared into the void. Haha, human, you dare to compete with me in speed? You really overestimate yourself. Qiongqi roared out in laughter. Its voice rang out within Gu Fei's heart, filled with disdain. After all, Qiongqi was a beast king that wielded the power of wind. Wielding the power of wind allowed Qiongqi's speed to be much faster than most beasts. Even if this human killed the five elements raptor, his speed would still be far inferior to Qiongqi. Looking at how this human was trying to catch up to him, Qiongqi thought that this human must have gone crazy. You won't be able to laugh in a while. Gu Fei stepped into the void and displayed his extreme speed of 8 steps. Every single step he took was as though he was teleporting, disappearing into the void instantly. By the time he reappeared, he had almost bumped into Qiongqi. So fast, Qiongqi was taken aback right now. How could this human's speed be this fast? Could this human have mastered the power of wind as well? That was impossible. One had to know that the power of wind was something that the Qiongqi race was born with. It was an innate skill, and not something that could be mastered through cultivation. Very soon, Qiongqi realized that the human was using a mysterious footwork technique while it was chasing after him. Just as Gu Fei and Qiongqi were chasing each other in the skies, a part of the void in the skies suddenly shattered. A black figure burst out from within the void. Chapter 2017. Shu. Gu Fei and the Qiongqi were moving rapidly in the skies. Even if it were a greater completion quasi-sage, it would be hard for them to catch a glimpse of their figures. Their figures only appeared for a brief moment before disappearing entirely. Roar! The Qiongqi held out. The speed of this human was simply way too frightening. To think that he could catch up to it. How could this be? After all, it was the controller of the power of wind. Bam! A tremendous force surged out from behind, causing the Qiongqi, who was in the midst of moving rapidly, to fly forward. The blood within its body rumbled as a stream of blood oozed out from the side of its mouth. How could this be? The Qiongqi was about to go crazy. To think that its forte, speed, would be surpassed by a human. This was something that it could not accept. Xing. The void vibrated as the Qiongqi's body jerked. Countless transparent wind blades surged out from its body. Every single one of these wind blades possessed a transparent Dao pattern. This was the Qiongqi's killer move, one that could kill without leaving a trace. The earth-shattering transparent wind blades slashed behind him, enveloping the entire world. Every inch of the void was filled with these transparent sharp blades. Gu Fei dashed forward. A layer of chaos chi surged out from his body as a series of chaos Dao patterns appeared on his body. These were 9 blurry Dao patterns. Bam! 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 The transparent wind blades slashed onto the layer of chaos chi around Gu Fei's body. One by one, the wind blades exploded out, causing the layer of chaos chi to vibrate violently. However, even though the countless wind blades slashed onto the chaos chi, they could not break through the layer of defense around Gu Fei's body. Even though the chaos chi was vibrating violently, it did not dissipate. This time around, the Qiong Qi was truly startled. To think that this human's defense would be this strong. Could he be the descendant of the legendary martial ancestor? Back in the ancient times, only the descendants of the martial ancestor would possess such a formidable physical body state. The martial body that they cultivated could even go against the connate godly beasts. Xing. Gu Fei separated his hands, and 5 divine swords appeared around him. These were 5 divine swords that each condensed the power of the 5 elements. This was a supernatural power that was derived from the cultivation of martial arts to a certain level. Shocking sword chi emanated from the 5 elements magical swords. The temperature of the entire world dropped rapidly due to the sword chi fluctuations. Go! Gu Fei waved his hands forward, and the 5 swords hovering around him immediately turned into 5 streaks of resplendent light, piercing towards Qiongqi in front of him. What? The Qiongqi was taken aback. How could the power of the 5 elements appear on the body of this human? This was hard to believe. This had already surpassed his knowledge. Could this human possess the legendary chaos body? Although Qiongqi was shocked, it didn't dare to underestimate Gu Fei's extremely sharp attack. It quickly turned into a gust of wind and dodged. Die! Just then, a tremendous amount of energy burst forth from the front of the Qiongqi. A gigantic hand appeared out of nowhere, grabbing the gust of wind that the Qiongqi had turned into. Bam! The Qiongqi was knocked out of the void. The gigantic hand then closed up, and a tragic cry rang out. Thereafter, a bone-chilling sound of bones cracking rang out. Fresh blood oozed out from between the fingers of the gigantic hand and dripped onto the ground. To think that the ancient beast, the Qiongqi, would have its physical body ripped apart by a single hand. Even its essence spirit couldn't escape before it died. What? Everyone was stunned by this scene. To think that the ancient beast, the Qiongqi, would be killed by a single hand just like that. And the person who killed this beast was none other than Gu Fei. To think that there would be 2 Gu Feis appearing in the skies at this moment. How could this be? Unbelievable. To think that there would be 2 Gu Feis. Furthermore, the aura of these 2 Gu Feis seemed to be equally strong. This was definitely not as simple as a clone. One should know that the strength of a clone could not be compared to the original body. There was a certain gap between the strength of a clone and the original body. However, if this wasn't an out-of-body incarnation technique, what kind of divine power was it? 9 secrets of the immortal path, 3 pure ones. From afar, the Zi Yunxiao siblings could not help but exchange glances. This Gu Fei, could it be that he had really obtained the complete 9 secrets of the immortal path? The 9 secrets of the immortal path were the ultimate techniques created by the supreme Taoist ancestor. In the ancient times, these 9 secret techniques had been lost and were no longer complete. Since then, no one has been able to gather all 9 secret techniques. Could it be that Gu Fei had managed to gather all 9 secret techniques? The Zi Yunxiao siblings found it hard to believe. One should know that it was far too difficult to gather all 9 secret techniques. It was already a great fortune for someone to obtain 1 or 2 of them. I've finally killed the beast. Gu Fei finally breathed a sigh of relief. He used the 1 Qi turning 3 pure one's divine technique to create a Taoist body. This Taoist body hid in the void with the anti-void secret technique and killed the Qiongqi beast in one fell swoop when it revealed its weakness. After killing Qiongqi, his Taoist body turned into a puff of clear Qi, returned to his body, and submerged into his body. Rumble. At this moment, the black elephant that had charged out from the void charged at Gu Fei again. Its 4 hooves stomped on the air, causing the void to tremble violently. Die! Gu Fei didn't dodge. His martial body shook and his entire body suddenly enlarged, turning into a giant that was dozens of feet tall. His fists were like small mountains, as he fiercely smashed towards the mammoth's huge head that was charging towards him. Boom! With a loud bang, Gu Fei's two fists fiercely smashed onto the mammoth's head. His physical strength was completely unleashed, and the chaotic true power condensed on his fists exploded in an instant. The perfect fusion of physical strength and martial true power allowed the power of Gu Fei's attack to be displayed to the extreme. The two shocking brute forces collided, and a circle of visible ripples spread out. A large area of the void was shattered, torn apart, and the void was quickly annihilated. Everyone was stunned by the scene. They did not expect that Gu Fei would face the elephant head-on. It should be known that the primordial wild elephant was an ancient species that excelled in strength. Even an ancient divine mountain would be smashed to pieces by the elephant's charge. However, to everyone's astonishment, Gu Fei actually used two fists to block the elephant's charge. Roar! The giant that Gu Fei had turned into let out a roar. An even more powerful force erupted from his fists that were pressed against the elephant's head. The elephant roared and was actually forced back more than 10 steps by the force. This was something that had never happened before. A primordial barbarian elephant was actually pushed back by someone. This was simply unbelievable. One must know that this primordial barbarian elephant was a tyrannical existence that could shake an immortal, venerable battle formation. Chapter 2018. To think that Gu Fei would dare to compete with the barbarian elephant in terms of strength. To think that he would be able to swing the barbarian elephant around. With a loud roar, he tossed the barbarian elephant into the depths of the forbidden zone. Who dares to fight with me? Gu Fei bellowed out. That body of his that was tens of feet tall emanated a horrifying might as he looked down on the entire world with a ferocious battle intent. Wherever his gaze landed, all the powerful beings would lower their heads. Even the most ferocious of beasts would feel their hearts trembling in fear under this invincible might of Gu Fei. One had to know that even those beast kings weren't a match for this human. What a good junior. To think that you would dare to kill the beast kings under my command. You deserve death. Just at this moment, a loud roar rang out from the depths of the forbidden zone. A pitch-black beast claw then stretched out from the depths of the forbidden zone and grabbed out at Gu Fei. That gigantic beast claw emanated out a torrential amount of energy that encompassed the entire world. The beast claw was filled with pitch-black scales that shone with a dark glow. Kill! Gu Fei's long hair fluttered in the wind as he raised both his fists and punched towards the incoming beast claw. The void in front of him was squeezed by the two fists, causing pitch-black spatial cracks to appear one after another. Boom! A loud explosion rang out as Gu Fei's fists slammed against that beast claw. He could only feel a tremendous force surging through his fists as his entire body was sent flying. Bam! At the same time, that beast claw jerked out as a translucent ripple spread out from it. Gu Fei's physical body received a tremendous impact. Boo-hoo! In the blink of an eye, Gu Fei was sent flying hundreds of thousands of feet away. While he was flying, he spat out a few mouthfuls of fresh blood. His lips and chin were filled with fresh blood. The ruler of the Forbidden Zone had struck out. With just a single strike, he was able to send the incredibly strong Gu Fei flying. This was simply way too scary. Looking at how Gu Fei could receive that strike and not even kill him, the ruler of the Forbidden Zone was taken aback. This human wasn't simple at all. What's the big deal about bullying a junior? Your opponent is me. Just at this moment, an elderly voice rang out across the world. Within the Forbidden Zone, a shadow of a beast wanted to rush out. However, it was stopped by an elderly man. Very well, then I'll kill you first, old man, then I'll kill that brat. The words of the ruler of the Forbidden Region were incomparably cold. The ruler of this forbidden region was a powerful existence that could fight against a saint who had sealed himself. It was truly unbelievable that such an existence existed in this tiny wildlands. Everyone couldn't help but suck in a cold breath when they saw the ruler of the Forbidden Zone easily injure Gu Fei. The ruler of the Forbidden Zone was too powerful. This is the true power of the divine path. Gu Fei was sent flying tens of thousands of feet away by the beast claw. He was extremely shocked. The other party had really sealed his cultivation and battle prowess. If it was any other great perfection quasi-sage, he would have been destroyed in both body and soul. Only Gu Fei, who had cultivated a quasi-sage martial body to great perfection, could take on that strike of the ruler of the Forbidden Zone head-on. Gu Fei channeled his Heaven's Emergence secret skill. The injuries on his martial body were healing up rapidly as the power of Heaven's Emergence coursed through his entire body. The torn flesh on his fists were healing up at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths' time, Gu Fei had already recovered to his peak condition. It was as though he had never been injured in the first place, and was still as mighty as ever. Sure. Gu Fei took a single step forth and traversed a distance of 100 miles instantly, entering the Forbidden Zone. Roar! Instantly, countless beasts surged out at Gu Fei like a tidal wave. Their killing intent was earth-shattering, causing the ground beneath their feet to tremble. Since you guys want to die, I'll grant you your wish. Gu Fei separated his hands, and countless sword blurs rushed out from his body. They turned into streaks of resplendent light and pierced towards the countless beasts that charged at him. With flashes of light, blossoms of blood appeared. Every single beast was struck in the forehead, and the 5 elemental sword chi directly pierced their Niwen palaces, destroying their souls. The beasts collapsed to the ground one after another, all killed in a single strike. Gu Fei's 5 elemental sword chi had pierced through their Niwen palaces and destroyed their souls. In just an instant, the ground before him was covered with the corpses of beasts of various sizes. Roar! The Lord of the Forbidden Zone roared out furiously again. Gu Fei had slaughtered so many of his subordinates, so it was utterly enraged. It wanted to charge out and kill Gu Fei. However, the former sect master of the Middle Ground Immortal Manor was extremely powerful. He was a saint who had sealed himself. At this moment, 4 of the seals on the former sect master had already been undone. After the 4 seals were undone, the former sect master's condition immediately returned to his middle-aged state. This was the period when the former sect master was at his strongest. Rumble! The former sect master stood on the war chariot and immediately unleashed a killing move. With a wave of his hand, 10 balls of blazing divine light shot out from his hands, smashing towards the beast. Each ball of fire was like a divine sun, illuminating the world and emitting a scorching aura. With the appearance of the 10 balls of fire, the temperature of the entire Forbidden Zone rose rapidly. An ancient saint of fire. When Gu Fei saw this, he was shocked to the extreme. The former sect master who had sealed himself was actually a saint of fire who cultivated in the power of the fire attribute. The ruler in the Forbidden Zone was also quite impressive. Faced with the 10 balls of God fire, the beastly figure opened its mouth and sucked in all 10 balls of God fire, sucking them all into its belly. Swish! The beast directly swiped at the former sect master. Its pitch-black claws that were covered in scales tore through the void, forcing the former sect master to retreat. Whoosh! The beast opened its mouth and spat out a pillar of fire at Gu Fei, burning towards Gu Fei. This was the power of the old master's 10 balls of divine fire, and it was actually being used by this savage beast to attack Gu Fei. The terrifyingly hot divine fire engulfed Gu Fei in an instant and then burned him. Collect! Gu Fei bellowed. The divine fire that was burning towards him seemed to be attracted by a great force and gathered towards the ancient cauldron in his hand. The ancient cauldron was only the size of a fist. It was held in Gu Fei's hand. Primordial chaos chi swirled around the mouth of the cauldron, giving off a heaven-devouring power that endlessly swallowed the divine flames into the cauldron. The ruler in the Forbidden Zone was dumbfounded when he saw that Gu Fei was actually able to absorb the flames. It had to be known that these were no ordinary flames. Roar! After absorbing the flames, Gu Fei roared towards the sky. His aura rapidly rose, and his martial body had already returned to its original state. Primordial Chaos Dao runes were faintly visible. Terrifying energy waves burst out from his body. Tenfold Ascension. Gu Fei displayed the Ascension secret art, causing his combat strength to soar tenfold. He then took a step forward and entered the depths of the Forbidden Zone. attacking the ruler of the Forbidden Zone. So what if it was the ruler of the Forbidden Zone? Chapter 2019. Gu Fei's battle intent was like a rainbow right now. To think that he would actually take a single step into the depths of the Forbidden Region and send out a punch at the Lord of the Forbidden Region. That powerful punch shook the entire world, causing even the Lord of the Forbidden Region to be visibly moved. Junior, you're just courting death. The Lord of the Forbidden Region roared out. To think that a puny little greater completion quasi-saint state human would dare to challenge him. This was simply insane. Was he not afraid of death at all? Bam! The Lord of the Forbidden Region stretched out a beast claw and welcomed the incoming punch of Gu Fei. That pitch-black beast claw was shrouded in a dark glow. A supremely powerful energy rippled out from that beast claw, shaking the entire world. Everyone's hearts were rattled. This was the true power of a saint state being. The Lord of the Forbidden Region was actually a saint beast. However, this saint beast had already sealed up its cultivation state and cultivation state. However, at this moment, this saint beast was the same as the old master of the Middle Continent Immortal Palace, releasing a few of the seals on its body. If it didn't release a few of its seals, this saint beast would definitely not be a match for the old master of the Middle Continent Immortal Palace. Boom! Gu Fei's fist collided fiercely with that black beast claw. There was no suspense at all. Even if Gu Fei were to unleash 10 times the strength of the heavens, it would still be hard for him to fight against a saint beast, even if it were a saint beast that had sealed itself up. The only thing Gu Fei could feel was a sweet taste in his mouth before he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. An unstoppable amount of power surged through his right fist, shattering the bones of his right arm as he was sent flying backward. That saint beast was extremely startled. To think that this human would not die under that strike of his. In fact, he was merely injured, but not fatally. This was something that was extremely surprising to it. That saint beast snorted coldly. Just as it was about to strike out once more, the old master of the Middle Continent Immortal Palace had already arrived. The old master was like an ancient god of fire. His entire body was emitting a boundless amount of god flames that dyed the entire sky red. Kill! The old master roared out. Waving his hand, 9 pillars of fire descended from the sky. Boom! 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 The earth trembled as 9 pillars of fire pierced into the ground, trapping the saint beast within. Blazing fire Tao patterns rushed out from the 9 pillars of fire and interweaved into a blazing fire array. Roar! Faint dragon roars came from the 9 fire pillars. Fire dragons could be faintly seen on the pillars. A savage aura spread out from the fire pillars. 9 dragons, heavenly fire pillar. The holy beast was shocked. It could feel the aura of 9 true dragons coming from the 9 divine flame pillars. It was the aura of the primordial fire dragon. This 9 dragons heavenly fire pillar was a famous killing formation in ancient times. It was an immortal venerable divine weapon refined by 9 dragons immortal venerable. 9 dragons immortal venerable was extremely powerful. He killed 9 raging fire true dragons, extracted their dragon souls and dragon power, and sealed them inside the 9 dragons' heavenly fire pillar. The power of 9 dragons was vast to begin with. After being refined into the 9 dragons' heavenly fire pillar, the might of the formation became even more terrifying. Even if a real sage were to fall into the formation formed by the 9 dragons' heavenly fire pillars, he would be burned to ashes without any suspense. At least you know your stuff. This time, you won't be as lucky as last time. The old master sat cross-legged in the air above the formation, controlling it with all his might. 9 dragon silhouettes condensed on the 9 fire pillars. Raging fire true dragons were supreme existences of the saint realm. The 9 dragon souls had their sentience erased, turning into puppets that only listened to the master of the 9 dragons' heavenly fire pillar. The dragon souls and dragon power had fused with the fire pillars. Could it be that you are 9 dragons immortal venerable? The holy beast was shocked. Terrifying divine fire burst out from the 9 fire pillars, burning the void of the heaven and earth. The holy beast could feel the danger. The Lord of the Forbidden Region had lived for countless years. He was an extremely powerful holy beast in ancient times. He knew how terrifying an immortal Venerable was, because he himself had almost broken through to that realm. If this old man was really nine-dragon immortal Venerable, he would be in danger today. In ancient times, this nine-dragon immortal Venerable was also a ruthless character. Otherwise, he would not have killed his way into the lair of the raging fire true dragons and killed them alone. No one doubted the strength of the raging fire true dragons. One should know that they were true dragons with the bloodline of the ancestral dragon. Wild dragons could not be compared to them. Even the 9 raging fire true dragons were not 9 dragon immortal Venerable's match. No matter how arrogant the Lord of the Forbidden Region was, he would not think that he was stronger than the 9 raging fire true dragons. Umph! The old master snorted coldly. He did not admit it. At this time, dragon roars resounded again. 9 dragon silhouettes rushed out from the 9 fire pillars and circled in the sky. The Lord of the Forbidden Region could no longer maintain his composure. He felt a great threat. While the 2 Saint Realm experts were confronting each other, Gu Fei, who was sent flying by the Lord of the Forbidden Region into a forest, soared into the sky again. Crack! He used the ascension power. The broken bones of his right arm trembled and grew back. His damaged flesh was also recovering at a visible speed. In just a short while, Gu Fei's martial physique had completely recovered. This was the profundity of the energy of ascension. No matter how heavily injured one was, or even if one's soul was scattered, so long as one's divine sense was not destroyed, one would be able to execute the ascension secret technique to reassemble one's soul and reconstruct one's body. The ascension secret art was one of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao. It was known as an undying divine art. It was very difficult to kill someone who cultivated the ascension secret art. Unless one used some special method, it was impossible to kill such a person. Gu Fei's strength had returned to its peak state. He had already exited the state of ascension. This was something he had learned from his experience in the constant battles he had fought. He used the ascension secret art to increase his strength. After launching an attack, he could exit the ascension state again. He did not need to maintain this state. This way, Gu Fei could use the ascension secret art for a longer period of time. What a powerful saint beast. It's still so strong even after sealing itself. How terrifying. Gu Fei clashed head-on with the saint beast. He knew very well that this was not the saint beast's true strength. If it had attacked with its full strength, he would not have been able to recover so easily. But I've also used my full strength. Gu Fei had his own trump cards, but he would not reveal them so easily, especially in a situation like this. He would never allow his opponent to figure out his true strength. That way, his opponent would have some misgivings about him and would not dare to attack him carelessly. Although the Saint Beast had knocked him out of the Forbidden Region, Gu Fei still managed to find the location of the Undying Tree with a quick glance.